Part 47. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 472. In addition to the most famous Change Master, the Royal Academy of French Magic has 4 legendary casters, including Lannister Hugo and Dean of the Elementary School, Tyrell. However, in the 5 French Royal Academy of Magic papers published in the inaugural issue of Arcane, there are 3 magic masters who have not yet entered the legendary field. Although there is still a long way to go to the legendary casters of the Zhuhuan in their personal occupational level, their research in their respective fields is very deep, and the opinions are also recognized by the Change Master and Ziwei. Their papers are finally on the board. The first issue of Arcane. Lavoisier is one of them. He is an alchemist and a magician. His paper in Arcane is in-depth analysis of casting materials. It seems to be a very simple small subject. The upper part refers directly to the most in-depth relationship and difference between matter, energy, and elements, and coincides with the theme of Ziwei in the opening message. He categorized and analyzed a total of 852 common casting materials. This is a very complicated and almost clueless work, but Lavoisier's paper is very creative. He is almost a person's way to discover, distinguish, and name more than 30 kinds of micromaterials, and has made preliminary explorations on the elements, magic, and energy conversion in the process of casting. This paper is also the most appreciated by Ziwei. As an 8-ring magic master and alchemist, Lavoisier also has his own independent mage tower at the Royal Academy of Magical Academy in France. His course is Magic Pharmacy, a very profitable but helpful for growing his own strength. Not a big course. Although a poor mage is not a good mage, a powerful mage is bound to be rich, but Lavoisier's teaching method is very strange. He almost never goes to any reason, only to tell the students to do freely in a subject, and rarely refers to the research results of the students. This clueless way of teaching has caused many students headaches, so that the magic pharmacy class in Lavoisier is not so popular. His laboratory assistant is the least of all the magic masters. However, all this was changed a month ago. The Royal Academy of Magical Academy of France came to a group of freshmen, exchange students from the remote West Golden Sea Violet Island. According to the information, these students have less than 2 years to receive formal magic education. A few of them actually started to learn magic by relying on several magical popular reading materials at the beginning of this year. Although they have completed the magic apprentice to formal the transformation of the magician, but still very immature. For these exchange students who just entered the ring, the instructors of the Royal French Academy of Magic did not want to receive it, so the principal assistant Ben Shaming finally put a whole 8 people to the magic medicine laboratory of Master Lavoisier. Lavoisier accepted the exchange students very smoothly, although he thought that these people did not play any role. However, 8 young and ingenious magicians from the Violet Academy quickly changed Lavoisier's opinion. Although they took the magical path for such a short time, they obviously accepted a very rigorous system of magical basic education, the mathematical foundation. Very solid, logical, and quick thinking, and not subject to the rules of various rules. After starting the study of magic pharmacy, they almost progressed at a speed visible to the naked eye. It took only 7 days for a second circle magician named Lista to complete the refinement of small vitality medicines. This is a nourishing agent that many students have to learn for a whole semester to supplement a human body, magic and mental power. In fact, not only Lavoisier masters, but also several other mentors are very satisfied with the assigned exchanges of violets. Although they are limited by their level of magicians and are very ignorant, they are diligent and eager to learn. The open-minded, hands-on ability is significantly different from the aristocratic students of the Royal French Academy of Magic who rely on a variety of intensive spells, spell-casting techniques, magical creatures, and magical potions. Principal assistant Ben Shaming naturally noticed this. The exchange team from Violet did not have one person to get a bad review from the mentor. Instead, there were several outstanding students who even let the high level and even the magic masters move. Disciples' thoughts? The vice-chancellor of the Violet Academy, a younger than 20-year-old black-haired Shenjo, almost always traveled between the Royal French Academy of Magic and the Changing Tower, and was very much appreciated by the Lord of Change. This discovery gave Ben Saming a new discovery in the other direction to the young and handsome, too much master, who was not only so powerful in personal magical research and casting, but also in educating and cultivating students. Abel. A magician who is only likes to study, is lonely and does not communicate with others. Such a magician is not terrible, as long as he is not at the legendary level of the world's peak, then he cannot make too much change to the world. However, a magician who not only can discover new areas of magic, but also educate a large number of disciples, the future value of such a person is far beyond the imagination of man. Ben Shammesh is associated with the Lord of Change. Although the kingdom of France 300 years ago could not be regarded as a magical desert, there are only a handful of magic masters in the entire kingdom. Until the 8-ring magic master, Victor Hugo received the strong support of the first king, built the Royal French Academy of Magic in Wangdu, and finally created the Change School, the fifth legendary magician of humanity. From after this, Pai Li became the second magician shrine in the whole of the Orient continent after the Thousand Law Tower. Now, in the body of Ziwei, Ben Shaman saw the shadow of Victor Hugo. The difference is that he is younger and the road is smoother. Ben Shaming was fortunate to have been in a good relationship with Ziwei last time and established a certain level of personal relationship, especially after he had just finished watching the inaugural issue of Arcane and was slowly shocked. Since being a principal assistant, Ben's magical research has almost stagnated. However, his heart has stirred up a long-lost excitement and inspiration. Magic will eventually become an arcane. What a bright future, now is the era. The key moment for change, if you can seize this opportunity, even if the talent is not very good, you may be able to promote the magic master, and even hope to spy on the legendary field in the future. In this way, with the completion of 1,000 original arcane issue, there are more simple copybooks throughout the continent of Orient, west to the distant seaside of Spania, the winter solstice Allendale's Northland Witch Council, south to Sicily, north to Copenhagen. The trend of an era has begun to surge, and the unstoppable trend has swept up. More and more magicians are vying to read this epoch-making magical journal and aiming at the concept of arcane. There was a heated discussion and even a dispute. Some people enthusiastically recognized the arcane, and began to worship Ziwei, thinking that he will change the status quo of magic and become an epoch-making great person. Some people will be suspicious, study each paper seriously, but take a wait-and-see attitude towards the idea of arcane, sneer and ridicule, seeing Ziwei as a brain burns the mad young man. However, there are a small number of magicians who begin to face up to each specific theoretical viewpoint and research direction proposed by Ziwei, and begin to face up to the nuances that they have neglected in the process of magical learning and research. The focal length has always been on the spell itself, but it has begun to focus on the depth level that is more about nature and law. Notre Dame de Paris, the most famous and magnificent cathedral in the Kingdom of France, is still in the secluded contemplative room of the backyard, and Anthony Bishop and the Lord of the Morning, Eulizia, is engaged in an important conversation to decide on the future. The Pope in the Holy City issued the command of the Holy Retreat and withdrew a large number of the finest and most elite pastors and knights from the Kingdom of Aden, the Rhine Union, and the Kingdom of Riesel. They have embarked on the Holy City and the Flanges. The road to the plain, Bishop Anthes said with awe-inspiring face, even in our French parish, there are also a large number of priests who have chosen to follow the Pope's call, and many of them have long been concerned about and even began to develop contact with the elite. The potential power has been damaged by more than half. Before the glory of the Lord has not really left, the Morning Lord, Eulixia, cannot openly publicize the sectarian policy. Everything can only be carried out in the underground, which obviously limits the size of the organization. After 5 consecutive arrogances and lunatics in the Holy See of Vatican, I finally ushered in a rational Master Euricia's evaluation of Pope Benton XVIII is high, other darkness after the Advent, the Church of the Glorious Lord will inevitably become the first weak giant of all mad dogs and enemies to bite but lose most of their power. Every kingdom is happy with this. The property of the Church of the Glorious Lord has shrunk by a large part. The large area of land has been treated to the kings and nobles at a low price, and even the right to collect the tithe has been deprived. The Bishop of Anthony showed a cold smile on his face. Stupid aristocrats, don't they know that for thousands of years, the Church of the Glorious Lord has stood on the front line to guard this crisis-ridden world, fighting against each only the forces of evil and darkness have brought in the continuous peace and prosperity of the world. They were blinded by their interests, and they couldn't see the crisis at all. Even if they knew that the night was coming from some channels, they still refused to let go because of greed. In this way, the first wave of power in the dark has been long-term planning. The most ferocious blow will fall on every kingdom, Eulicia said calmly. But this also caused us a lot of trouble. Our roots are almost all in the French parish. The king's attitude is very embarrassing. He is waiting for our response. Bishop Ansi frowned. He wants to compile us, completely tied us to the chariot of the Kingdom of France. Olan is a wise monarch, and his personal strength has entered the sanctuary, mastering the power and rights of the world to be the peak of mortals. Eulicia sighed, but this means he also became a huge target. I can only see the raging dark frenzy in the near future, which contains endless horror and evil. This force tries to devour everything and turn the Orient continent into their hunting ground. To meet their endless hopes of immortality. We must wait and see, cannot be tied to the chariot of France, even if it looks so strong. The Lord of the Morning, after the end of the original contract, how many devout believers can you give to the power of light, so that they can still guard our homeland and the world? Bishop Anthas looked straight at the bright saint in front of him. The bright goddess of the future. I don't know. After a moment of silence, Eulicia shook her head in confusion. In addition to MSYNU, the world of Orient has never born a true God. Even if it is me now, there is still a huge gap with that level. I can only grant 1,000 devout beliefs to the priests who call me. Most of them can only use the 3-ring magic. If you do, I will not be able to continue to condense the real body. If you can't get enough growth in a short period of time, then there are only 2 kinds of consequences, either by the divine spirits of the believers, or by the prayers that are not responded to. Until now, the Church of the Lord of the Morning, including the Bishop of Anthas, still uses the power of the Glorious Lord. Once the original contract is over, it will be a terrible winter. What is even more worrying is that once the glory of the priests have been enjoying the almost endless power of the glory of the Lord, from the extravagance of the martyrdom, the inevitable supply of the poor power of the future of the Lord of the Morning, resentment will arise because of contrast. This kind of resentment is simply poison for faith. The Lord of the Morning, the power of power, is indeed too burdensome and expensive for you, but to fight against the darkness, we must master the light. Bishop Anthas sighed. The magicians are not gods, but they can master the elements, master the magic, have the power that is almost completely inferior to us. Can they change the source of the power of the pastors, learn the magic by learning, and complete the promotion of personal rank? The point that the priest and the magician are completely different is the key. The priest's magic is derived from the gift of the gods he believes, and the magician's spells rely on his own analytical learning. The priests can master a new powerful high-level magic in a second, but the magician may take months or even years. On the contrary, if the gods regain their power, the priest's combat power will be seriously shrunk. The suggestion of Bishop Ansi is equal to the cultivation of the pastor's mage, which will inevitably weaken the belief in the Lord of the Morning, and can only be regarded as a solution. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 473. My strength is light, And the original light of Orient is me. Eulizia suddenly raised the tone. I can use the energy of light according to my own ideas, but it is like my instinct. I don't know how to teach believers and pastors to learn to use bright energy. Bishop Anthas is silent. For thousands of years, the pastors of the Church of the Glorious Lord have been raising their ranks of professionalism and gaining a higher level of magic and power by virtue of their devout faith and contributions to the Church of the Glorious Lord. However, when the gods who believed in the service left, the pastors found themselves completely in a state of sorrow. For the magical techniques that they had performed thousands of times, the familiar light energy could not be understood at all. There are also a few pastors in history who have tried to resolve the power of the Lord of Glory. Unfortunately, this pastor was soon regarded as a heretical and burned to death on the firearms, warning all latecomers. We have focused on the wizard, Ziwei, and now it has set off the waves of the sky. In the circle of magicians, Bishop Anthas shifted the topic. He picked up the table and placed an arcane, the inaugural issue. He is trying to integrate the power of some magicians, using the arcane as a banner to manage this part of the power. Obviously, he is very ambitious and very capable, and he is supported by the Lord of Change and the Queen of the Construction. After that, this matter has basically been done. It is foreseeable that Violet will soon become the next magical place of Orient, and Master Shavi is very likely to become the next legendary magician. Every title legendary magician can't be underestimated, Ulysses said with emotion. They are not as long as my peers have such a long life and time, but they are the source of this world power and deep level. The exploration has been very deep, and the same has entered the field of half human and half god. Mage Shavi has been a very shining presence in the entire Orient magician for thousands of years. He is less than 20 years old and has mastered the magic of 7 fields, and at the same time reached the master level. Arcane, the 7 papers on the list are proof. He is very good at analyzing the source of power. The inscriptions he created are very powerful for the element school's spells. Perhaps he is the one that suits us best. The Anthas bishop put down the arcane. But now that he has taken off, we can't manipulate him anymore, we can only work with him on an equal footing. But there is one more thing to worry about. Exploring research on your power source may make the master steal the West. To your glory? But there is no way. My Pope Eulys waved her hand. The other legendary magicians, I am even less likely to open my source to them. Master Siv is the only suitable for this one. The candidate for the matter. In order to grow the Church of the Lord of the Morning, we must start doing this right away, otherwise the darkness will come, and the last opportunity for the development of the Church of the Morning Lord will be lost. After half a month, there will be a grand arcade on Violet Island, and Ziwei will award the first arcane masters. Bishop Anthas shook his head gently, but I want to see the secrets from the other 3 archbishops. A lot of people are staring at you, or let me come. Eulizia blinked. I went to Violet Island and had a secret conversation with Ziwei. The wave that started in the inaugural issue of Arcane did not calm down, but it became more and more wild and more vast. The transcript of the inaugural issue of Arcane began to spread from the Thousand Law Tower, the French Huangjia Magic Academy, the Union of Magic School of Venice and the University of Copenhagen at a speed that was too fast to steal. Numerous magicians living in remote corners are madly pursuing this essay journal with 2 legendary magicians and several legendary spellcasters and nearly 10 magical masters. Even if the recognized arcane concept cannot be accepted, the journal itself, every magician, is also invaluable. At this point in time, the establishment of the arcane reviewing members on the Violet Island and the meeting of the arcanists have attracted a lot of attention. They have used various modes of transportation to come from the whole country of the Orient continent. I arrived at this remote island on the western Golden Sea. Nanhai town, which has been very prosperous, has suddenly become a lively town. The town is full of outsiders wearing various color mage robes. Ziwei had to let Natalia and her knights from the Smurfs. Returning to Face, temporarily stationed here, guarding the safety of Nanhai town. Zero also established a huge magic surveillance network in Nanhai town to prevent any confusion and unnecessary casualties caused by these huge numbers of magicians. In this way, the entire Violet Island, like a dreamland, enters the vision of these magicians. Compared with their purely functional buildings, the Violet Academy is simply the home of the magician's dream. Many magicians deliberately want to sign up. Studying here is only temporarily rejected. All new students will only be enrolled after the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the conclusion of the Arcane Masters. There were a total of 15 arcane divisions, including the Master of Change and the Queen of the Emperor. They couldn't come in person this time, but they would also be represented in another way. Zai Wei is well aware of the reasons for the absence of the two. For the legendary magician, the entire continent of Orient is like a village. It is definitely not a time to come and go. The two did not come in person, just to dilute their influence in the new organization of the Arcanist, and to attribute all glory and authority to the founder, 11 Wei. Zai Wei is grateful to Victor Hugo and Didura. Although they have stood at the peak of the whole world, they still have a broad mind and a hobby to bring their younger generations. Otherwise, their own arcane it is impossible to achieve such a fantastic start. In addition to the two legendary magicians, the other 13 arcane masters will all come to Violet Island, including the famous bow scholar Anthony, Blue Phantom Lannister even in the whole of the Orient continent. Hugo, 2 legendary spellcasters, and 6 magic masters from the Thousand Law Tower, including 3 magical masters from the Royal Academy of Magic in France. Not only that, the deputy dean from the School of Magic at the University of Copenhagen, the legendary caster Hemer and the master of Vesca, the master of the Gudita from the Union of Magical Sciences in Venice, the first and second from the North and West Witches' Council, came to the Violet, where there are 5 legendary casters and 2 digit magic masters. It can be said that the whole Violet is rotating around this event. Zai Wei invited the most distinguished 5 legendary casters to live in their own Violet Castle. Other magic masters are also in the single-family villa in the center of the college. After returning from the University of Copenhagen, Zai Wei has been working hard to build the headquarters of the future Arcanists organization. According to the vision of Zai Wei, since it is an arcane master, of course, to live in the floating city, the headquarters of the Arcanist is of course the city of the sky. However, the gravity of the world is not so easy to reverse. For thousands of years, no city has ever been able to fly away from the center of the earth and fly into the clouds. Zai Wei had to put this idea down for a while, but he still used the corresponding nebula style when building the Arcanist headquarters, and designed this small-scale Arcanist headquarters into a very unique and shining building. This remote island has never been so lively today. Zai Wei made Charlotte come out at the right time, inviting the magic masters who will become the first arcane masters to give speeches in the auditorium of the Violet Academy. As the base camp of Zai Wei, Violet Academy first became popular here. Any magician including magic apprentices, even if you just started to meditate on the magic apprentices who shaped the heart of the lake, a copy of the arcane copybook, any of them a paper looks like a fascination. Reminiscent of the arcane points that existed very early in the Silver's spell list, the students of these Violet Academy all boiled up, and they will be full of expectations for the Violet event that will soon be opened. The birth of the first arcane masters in Lent. Every arcane master who is about to be awarded is at least a master of magic. Whether in his own professional field or elsewhere, he has enough accumulation behind him. He also gave a warm response to Zai Wei's invitation. 1 person a day. The master's speech made the auditorium of the Violet Academy full. The teachers and students of the whole school are almost here, knowing that this is the speech of the Master of Magic. The incompetent magicians from the field also strongly urged to be able to attend the speech. Finally, the Violet Academy had to open a quota of 100 people a day for them to enter the auditorium. In these few days, Violet Fortress has almost become a place for several legendary spellcasters to exchange their experiences. Several night elves have reopened the work of the maids, and they have to stop the tea every day, and listen to the communication of several legendary spellcasters. On the last day before the conference was about to open, another legendary caster came to Violet Island, the chief of the Venice United Magic School, Cesare Galli. The Venice United Magic School apparently underestimated the specifications of the Violet event, they only sent a master of magic in Gouda. But when the magician really arrived in Violet, he took the wax. The legendary casters of the Thousand French Tower, the Royal French Academy of Magic, the University of Copenhagen and even the North Witch Council were not even invited by the president of Sci-fi. In the Violet Castle, does this mean that the Venice United Magic Academy is one level lower than other places? Therefore, Cesare Guri, Dean of the United Magic School of Venice, quickly stopped the crucial magic experiment in his hands. He is a member of the most powerful Galli family in Venice, and now the 8 generations of the Galli family patriarch ancestor, the founder of the Union of Magic Schools in Venice. This Cesare Guri is really a long-sleeved dancer. Like a businessman and a nobleman, he has more than a magician. In a short time, he has a close relationship with the other 5 legendary spellcasters. The endless stream of gifts is even more. Several night elf maids are very happy. As time went by, on the 7th day, the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the meeting of the Arcanists was finally opened, and the headquarters of the Arcane Masters, which had been shrouded in mystery, was about to be unveiled. In the early morning of this day, Ziwei woke up very early. He dressed up, a rare moment. Charlotte and Natalia woke up even when the sky was not bright. 2 women dressed each other in the vanity mirror, of course. Mainly Charlotte is doing it, Natalia is so skillful to help. Ziwei did not wear the iconic luxurious silver magic robe today, and it did not change into a dazzling Japanese elf form. At his current level, these external linings are no longer needed. Dressed up Charlotte and Natalia are so shining, they are already the most perfect and most beautiful in the world, and today they are beautiful to the extreme, so that anyone can see, people can't help but be dazzled. Today's Violet Festival has a full 6 legendary casters and more than a dozen magic masters, and there are thousands of teachers and students from the entire Violet Academy and magicians from all over the world, but today's protagonist there is only one, that is the Master Ziwei. He is the creator of the Arcane Journal, the initiator of the Arcane Concept, the chairman of the upcoming Arcane Review Club, and the first aerobics. Although he is only a master of magic now, everyone including 6 legendary spellcasters dare not underestimate him. He used the 7 papers in Arcane to convince these legendary casters. He is even more. I used to use my powerful magic to positively suppress the 2 legendary heads of the North Wall Witch Council. The Arcane Division headquarters is located in the highest elevation of the Violet Island, next to the Plane Transfer Center. The surrounding hills have already turned into a flat high platform today. Countless people expect the Arcane Division headquarters to appear in the public for the first time. As everyone knows, Sylvester Frost is not only a powerful magician, but also a best-selling author, music master, and architect. Once the island of Violet was just a remote and desolate island, it has now become a beautiful and prosperous sea paradise, the next magical holy place in the future. Whether it is Violet Castle, Violet College, or Nanhai Town, it is full of dreamy charm and has impressed countless outsiders. When the time came to the 9th magic in the morning, the silver-violet light curtain that enveloped the outer layer of the Arcanist headquarters slowly dissipated, and the Arcane Division headquarters finally appeared in front of everyone. Wow! I can't believe it, this is the first impression of almost everyone. What a dreamy building in front of the building. If the Violet Castle is a fairy tale dream, then the Arcane Division headquarters is a dream of a strong future style. If you find that the content of the chapter is wrong, please report it and we will fix it as soon as possible. More exciting content, please pay attention. Novel domain, new domain name. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 474. Like the white flashing light of the nebula, it flows in the blue transparent crystal. This is a nebula-like tower. Walking in it is like walking in the stars. It is named the Morning Star Tower. After disguising the Morning Star Tower, there are 9 layers, corresponding to 9 different arcane division levels. Each layer uses space compression spells. The appearance looks very small, but the inside is very wide, including a large number of functional buildings. Ziwei and Zero used the time of half a month to complete the construction of the Morning Star Tower. The main material used was the crystals from the carefully extracted and processed sludge of the Smurfs. Let's board the top floor of the Morning Star Tower and start this meeting. Ziwei appeared in front of the tower, Bow Scholar Anthony, Blue Phantom Lannister, the new Master of Magic Kristen, as well as 9 other magic masters from the Thousand Laws Tower and the Royal Academy of Magic in France, followed the Westville and stepped into this attractive tower. The first floor lobby is very spacious, and the empty space is like the dark and dead space of the Milky Way. At the center of the hall is a rotating white star cluster. This is the central transmission array inside the nebula tower, which can lead to the tower. Each layer. The pedestrian walked into the cluster and clearly saw that the surrounding clusters were still rotating in accordance with the established trajectory. This is a very novel experience. Ziwei launched the transmission array and brought everyone to the 9th floor of the nebula tower. It is already very high here. Under the feet of everyone is a flat blue transparent crystal floor. A dazzling white star flash is passing through a crystal channel. The whole space gives people an inexplicable shock. It can be said that the people who boarded the 9th floor of the Morning Star Tower are the best magicians of the whole of Orient. Their insights are equally sharp. These white stars are the energy transmission and magic array of the tower. Where? Standing in the center of the 9-story tower, the surrounding walls are shining with a completely different constellation. This is really a feeling of being completely in the astrology, perfect for the arcane level of the arcanist. Ziwei activated a switch, and the spell energy in the Morning Star Tower began to frantically. The surrounding nebula barriers began to fall slowly. The stars under everyone's feet flashed into solids, holding everyone up high and going straight into the clouds. Summon Moon Shadow. Ziwei on the sky used a spell blessed by Ms. Silver Moon, and the original bright sky suddenly began to change into a night. The sun temporarily left the post in the sky, shining silver moon and The stars occupy the sky on the entire Violet Island, and the surrounding scenery has undergone tremendous changes. Against the backdrop of the silver moon and the stars, the dream level of the Morning Star Tower suddenly rises to a higher level. The crowds on the crowd have issued a neat exclamation. They can lift the sky like this in a short time. This is only the legendary caster power. At this time, 13 magicians stepped on the stars to shine, among the stars, so mysterious and noble. The following sorcerers and the students of the Violet Academy gradually stopped marveling and talking, and the entire island was once again calm. The era of Arcane is coming. With the publication of the first issue of Arcane, I am very happy to find a large number of like-minded magician friends. We will work together for the truth of Arcane. On this beautiful day today, this beautiful island of Violet Island, I officially announced that the Arcane Review Committee was formally established. Ziwei's voice was not high and not very exciting, but it was clearly passed to the ears of every listener. They couldn't help but slap their hands and cheer for the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee. In particular, the students of the Violet Academy, under the organization of the student president Esmeralda, sounded a uniform applause. The Arcane Review Committee has a total of 15 seats. I am honored to have the support of everyone and become the chairman of the Arcane Review Club. The Lord of Change, Victor Hugo, and the Construction Queen Laho will also join the Arcane Review Committee as the honorary chairman of the committee. The Boss Scholar, Anthony, and Blue Phantom, Lord Lannister, will be the first members of the Arcane Review Committee. Because the number of arcanists is still too small, after deliberation with the 2 honorary chairmen, I decided to place the members of the Arcane Review Committee members 6 months later, and 10 members will be selected from all the arcans. 11 Wei's gaze swept away all the people present, and the turmoil that had just risen in the crowd subsided. Hemmer, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Copenhagen, Cesare Galli, Dean of the United Magic School of Venice, and the first 2 witches of the Green and Red Witches, both of which shined in the eye, failed to catch up with the original opportunity, but the delayed selection of the review board clearly gave everyone a chance. Arcane will be released every month. In the first half of the year, all the magicians who can publish in the Arcane journals and volunteer to join us will become members of the Arcanists. Next, I will award the first Arcane Masters in the world of Orient. Zai promoted the process very fast. Almost no magician likes to waste time, especially in the presence of so many magic masters and even legendary spells by. Anthony and Lannister looked at each other and opened up the magical things they carried with them. In the next moment, 2 faint phantoms appeared in the night of the stars at the same time. Their figures were very light. If they were not noticed under the stars, they were so powerful, just like the sun in the sky. It's as dazzling as silver moon, and it can't be ignored. A phantom figure is burly, a phantom is high and straight, it is the image of the spiritual master of the Change Master and the Emperor. Including Zai, there are people in the place who have performed a very grand mage ceremony on these 2 virtual shadows. This is a tribute to the brilliant achievements and great contributions made by each legendary magician in formal occasions. Without these legendary magicians who pioneered the new magic school, the magic theory of the Orient world could not develop to such a powerful position today that the magicians could not obtain the status of honor and glory as they are now. It's nice to meet everyone, Victor Hugo's spiritual body smiled and said. I am honored to attend the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the Arctic Masters Conference, Didala also said softly. The 2 then stood next to Zai. 11 Wei opened his hands and an arcane badge floated on his palm. This is the arcane badge. I set up the Zingai trial in it, which can sharpen the soul of the sublimation wearer. I added the Brave trial to the Arcane Badge to enhance the wearer's combat ability. Victor Hugo's Brave test in the Arcane Badge contains a variety of magical creatures from the 7th to the Legend. The challenge: the Arcane Master can use the mental power to enter the inside of the badge, and these powerful enemies to carry out very realistic combat exercises to enhance their actual combat capabilities. This is very important for some of the Arcane Masters. Unlike the Warrior Knights, the magicians are researchers and scholars. Many people have very profound knowledge and master a lot of powerful spells, but they are really life-threatening. In the life and death fight, but panic, it is difficult to play real strength. However, courageous trials can help the Arcanists solve this problem, and it is the great invention of Victor Hugo, the Master of Change. I added a virtual lab to the Arcane Badge, which perfectly simulates most of the magic experiments and provides near-complete casting techniques to help the Arcane reduce the time and cost of the experiment. This is from the Construction Queen Didala's gift. This gift is also very generous, belonging to the core mysteries and welfare of the School of Architecture. In this way, the Arcane Badges that have been processed by the West, 5th, and 7th laws have suddenly become such a powerful epic-level magical object, which has a role in the growth of the Arctician's own strength. It can even be called the level of legendary magical objects. Even for Boss Anthony or Blue Phantom Lannister, this Arcane Badge still has very practical functions and good value. For those magic masters, this badge is very much needed. Features: the magicians of other ceremonies are all red eyes. Such a powerful Arcane Badge, from the blessings of the President of Zai and the 2 legendary magicians, full of glory and practical value, perfect magical things. How I want to have one myself. The first Arcane Badge, awarded to the great Lord of Change, Victor Hugo. You have profoundly met some of the changes in the origin of species. the essential exploration of the School of Change published in the inaugural issue of Arcane. The mystery of the school is very helpful to the magician who is interested in learning to change the spell, and has found a viable new direction for the development of the Change School. The Arcane Review Committee awarded Victor Hugo with 10,000 points. You will be promoted directly to the 7-star Arcane Master. 10,000 points is the upper limit of the arcane point that can be directly obtained by an arcane thesis. If other orthopedics refer to the paper in their respective papers, they will also get the continuous arcane point, although not more, but it is expensive, and it will be a large income as time goes by, far exceeding the number of 10,000 points. The setting of the arcane points corresponding to the arcane division level is still the same as the arcane point. 10 arcane points are 1-star arcane division, 30 are 2-star arcane divisions, 100 arcane points are Samsung arcane divisions, and 1000 arcane points are 5-star arcane divisions. The 9-star arcane master needs 100,000 arcane points, which is astronomical for the average arcane master, but for the legendary magicians of Victor Hugo and Ella, as long as they are willing, it can be reached soon. However, this is also the limit at present. For the title of Great Arcanist, Ziwei is not open for the time being. He personally wants to get the title of the first Great Arcane Master instead of the 8th Law or No 9 Law. Victor Hugo's illusion took over the arcane badge handed down by Ziwei and was carefully worn on his chest. The second arcane badge, belonging to the Great Construction Empress Didela, published in the Arcane inaugural issue The World Outside the Door, the distance between the legendary spellman and the legendary sorcerer, revealing the mystery of the legend and the possible way forward, with incalculable great value, and cannot be copied. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee awarded Devra Arcane points 10,000, you will be directly promoted to the 7-star Arcane Division. Dixila's Phantom is also happy to wear the Arcane badge on her chest. It seems that she likes the new identity of this 7-star Arcane Master. I witnessed this scene, and some people were happy and glorified at the place, and they gave birth to many other ideas. Unexpectedly, the Lord of Change Victor Hugo and Construction Queen Dixila not only actively pursued the Arcane Journal and arcane ideas of Ziwei, but also directly joined the Arcane Review Committee. Participate in the award ceremony of the Arcanist. Not only that, the two titles of the legendary not only did not get the highest big arcane master title, even the 9-star arcane division is not, just a small 7-star arcane master. This is the title of the legendary magician, whose name shines the 5th and 7th law of the entire Orient world for centuries or even centuries. P.S. Wipe, still 300 words have not been written, time is up, I will send it first, and immediately modify it. The second arcane badge belongs to the Great Construction Queen Didela, published in the Arcane inaugural issue The World Outside the Door, the distance between the legendary spellman and the legendary sorcerer. For the first time, I have revealed the mystery of the legend and the possible way forward. It has immeasurable great value and cannot be copied. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee awarded Daigzu Arcane points 10,000, you will directly promoted to a 7-star Arcane Master. Dixila's Phantom is also happy to wear the Arcane badge on her chest. It seems that she likes the new identity of this 7-star Arcane Master. I witnessed this scene, and some people were happy and glorified at the place, and they gave birth to many other ideas. Unexpectedly, the Lord of Change Victor Hugo and Construction Queen Dixila not only actively pursued the Arcane Journal and arcane ideas of Ziwei, but also directly joined the Arcane Review Committee. Participate in the award ceremony of the Arcanist. Not only that, the two titles of the legendary not only did not get the highest big arcane master title, even the 9-star arcane division is not, just a small 7-star arcane master. This is the title of the legendary magician, whose name shines the 5th and 7th law of the entire Orient world for centuries or even centuries. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 475. Casting Materials. It can be said that every magician has been in contact since the apprenticeship. The presence of caster material greatly reduces the difficulty of casting spells, allowing wizards to cast the spells they need with less magic and cheaper. However, the search and configuration of the casting materials has not formed a systematic norm. Each magician has almost a copy of the drug material encyclopedia, but only lists the casting materials and corresponding spells. Master Lavoisier was the first magician who spent more than 10 years researching thousands of casting materials. He searched for the same and different differences through contrast experiments and invented material elements. This term is used to name more than 30 material elements that I have discovered. The study of casting materials is something that many magicians do not bother to do, because it will waste the precious teacher's precious time and life, but it does not help the magician's progress. Therefore, in the inaugural issue of Arcane, the article In-Depth Analysis of Casting Materials received almost the least attention. The evaluation of everyone is not very high, and few people are willing to analyze this paper in depth. However, the Arcane Review Committee actually gave this paper a full 1,800 Arcane score, even beyond the papers of the two legendary casters, which is very shocking to everyone. The original Arcane level is not just a magician level. Even if you are just an ordinary magician, as long as your thesis is creative and pioneering, you can get huge Arcane points and climb up the Arcane level. Lavoisier apparently did not think that he could directly become a 5-star Arcane master with this thesis. Ziwei put the Arcane badge on the Lavoisier's robe. Your paper is very good, your work. And the persistence has always been very valuable. The hair-white Lavoisier has a sore nose. He has always been a different kind of magician. He specializes in potions and his promotion to magic masters is very difficult. When he barely passed the test of the master's certificate, he knowing that it is almost impossible to be promoted to an 8-ring magician or a legendary caster, it is all devoted to all the time and energy of his favorite research field, the exploration of material elements in the microscopic field. For 15 years, Master Lavoisier has made a lot of research results in this field. However, his research has not been paid attention to by anyone, and no one has ever made any slightest recognition of his efforts. The only place he can get some respect, seems to be to teach the students of the Royal Academy of Magic in France to deploy a variety of magical agents, but because of his eccentric personality, fewer and fewer students are willing to follow him. However, after 15 years have passed, the emergence of Arcane has finally brought light to his research work. The expectation of Ziwei's in-depth exploration of the micro-world mentioned in the opening message of the Arcane is always lava. Master 11's research, his paper was approved by Victor Hugo, the Change Master, and was directly recommended to Ziwei. Ziwei is highly appraised for Lavoisier's in-depth analysis of casting materials. This is a very Australian spirit. Ziwei's energy is limited, he can't all fields are on the front line of research, so many magicians in the world of Orient, the future arcanes will be the main force to explore the world. Ziwei will only choose the most valuable, most popular, and good areas to explore, and extract the most valuable field, the crown of the pearl. It is enough, the cornerstone and building of the magnificent Arcane Hall. Need more, the Arcanist is coming to add bricks and tiles. The next few masters' essays scored Arcane points ranging from 150 to 800, and they were awarded the titles of Samsung and 4-star Arcanists. The 14th Arcane badge, awarded to Miss Christine Phillips, Artificial Intelligence, Automated Casting Core Construction and Model Analysis, published in the inaugural issue of Arcane, explores the development of artificial intelligence in the construction school. The new possibility points out a new research direction for the development of the architecture school. The artificial intelligence field is very useful. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee awarded the Kristen 750 Arcane points, and you will be promoted directly to the 4-star Arcane Master. The appearance of different levels of the Arcane badge is different. The 4-star Arcane Master corresponds to 4 stars. The snow-white dress and the skirt of Christine's cheeks are red on both sides, and they walked to the front of Ziwei with excitement. She was originally a beautiful woman in the country, and with a strong natural charm, now surrounded by stars, silver moon shines, silver hair beauty Christine becomes so shining, almost instantly attracted almost all human gaze. Of the 15 arcane divisions who received the first batch of today's awards, there were only 2 women, and the other was the front Emperor Didura, who was present with the image, who would not be the 7th law. There is a slight disrespect. However, the only female magic master tonight is also the title of the 14th arcanist Kristen, and everyone has given the warmest applause. Ziwei personally put on the 4-star arcane badge for Christine. The smile on his face is very gentle. Just like this cool water moonlight, watching the friends around him grow up step by step without being completely thrown by themselves. This feeling is really warm and very comfortable. Christine wore a 4-star arcane badge and turned around to pay tribute to the images of the 12 orthodox and 2 legendary magicians. This returned to his own nebula disc. On. Everyone is holding their breath. This time the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the meeting of the Arcanists has reached the end, but there is still one person who has not received his own arcane badge, that is the founder of Arcane. The first 14 Arcanists in the world of Orient around the Westville. His eyes swept through everyone in the crowd, and then Ziwei once again said, "Please forgive my waywardness, I am the most. The number I like is 0. So the number of the arcane badge I prepared for myself is 0. There was a chuckle in the audience. Obviously, in the identity of Ziwei and his contribution, at least the 3rd arcane badge should be obtained instead of the 15th. Everyone was surprised at this. Before, I did not expect Ziwei actually left the 0 arcane badge. Anyone who knows the existence of Professor Zero has revealed a thoughtful expression. For such a glorious occasion for Ziwei tonight, Zero did not appear? In fact, this moment is being the closest soul link with Ziwei. This is what Ziwei insisted. He has come to the Orient world for more than a year. He can go to the step and establish an arcane. The power of the division sends out the sound of arcane in the whole world, and all successes are inseparable from Zero. Therefore, Ziwei wants to share this lofty glory with Zero, and the 0 arcane badge is just to commemorate Zero. I want to invite the most beautiful arcane masters to give me a title. Ziwei once again opened, and the Morning Star Tower was filled with a relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. In the active laughter of the crowd, the silver-haired beauty Christine swayed her slender legs and walked to the front of Ziwei with her cheeks. A card and an arcade badge appeared directly in her palm. Christine took a deep breath and picked up the card and used his sweet voice to read the line of the last arcane master today, the Zeroth arcane badge, awarded to Mr. Sylvester Frost. You are in electromagnetic induction, the expansion of the new field of elemental school published in the inaugural issue of Arcane, the 5 theorems of spelling models, application of protection schools, a total of 7 papers covering electromagnetic, protection, change, mathematics, the 7 areas of summoning, space and blood are very groundbreaking and inspiring, and the magic field will be further expanded. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee awarded Ziwei a total of 28,500 arcane points, and you will be promoted directly to the 7-star Arcane Master. As long as you get 30,000 arcane points, you can be promoted to the 8-star Arcane Division. The 28,500 arcane scores of Ziwei are not much, but they are less. Although his 7 papers are not as important and valuable as the 2 legendary magicians, if the 7 papers are completed by other magicians, each of the 5 papers is worth 5,000. Up to 8,000 points. In this way, Ziwei will directly receive more than 40,000 arcane points, and become an 8-star arcane master, but also directly press 2 titles of legendary magician. Although perhaps the Master of Change or the Emperor will not mind, but this will inevitably give the world the impression that Ziwei is too arrogant, and adversely affect the development of Arcane and Arcane Division organizations. In any case, Ziwei also sources a large number of valuable papers. As long as the two legendary magicians do not compete with him on the arcane points must not catch up with Ziwei. Therefore, Ziwei was not in a hurry. He lowered the weight of the 7 papers and finally got 28,500 arcane points. He became a 7-star arcanist alongside 2 legendary magicians. Christine wears the sparkling 7-star arcane badge on the chest of Ziwei with her delicate white fingers. She has done this simple job very seriously, just like in the most important occasion in the experience of life. After Christine returned to his nebula disk, the first 15 arcanists in the world of Valunt got their own arcane badges, and the dream of Ziwei finally came out with a very solid first step. Thank you very much for coming to Violet Island, witnessing the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the awarding ceremony of the first Orient Masters of Orient. As the owner, I have a gift for everyone, I hope you can like it. Wei spread his hands and shouted. His voice just fell, and the stars in the night sky suddenly dropped red, green, yellow, and blue-colored rainwater. Each drop of water contained rich elements and magical powers, with a fascinating scent of people. The colored rain slowly falls, and it falls on everyone's face. In the palm of your hand, the rain directly transforms into an element, which is integrated into everyone's body and heart lake. This is the new spell that Ziwei has studied after the most in-depth exploration of the elemental school. Elemental Ganlin is an improved version of the Smurfs used at the foot of the snow mountain. Human beings do not have the natural magical affinity like the Smurfs. Therefore, Ziwei has added carefully cultivated violets. The improved elemental rain is more suitable for humans to absorb and transform, which can effectively enhance the magical elements and their own magic level. The elements and magic in the rain of these elements are so rich, especially for those low-level magicians, it is a blessing. Among all the audience present, the lowest level of the magician is undoubtedly the students of the Violet Academy. Most of them are only magic apprentices, and a few are low-level magicians of the first and second ring. The rain of elements of the sky has nourished everyone, and instantly moistened their originally small and dry heart lake. The heart lake swelled like a balloon, and the magic grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost instantly, there are several high-level magic apprentices who have reached the magical realm directly, and can be promoted to the official magician through the magician promotion ceremony. The standard magic of other magic apprentices also has a very large increase, they can top their meditation for a few months, and more importantly, the rain of these elements also improves their elemental affinity, for the violets that use the 4 elements to think about the door. For students, this is far more rewarding than the magic growth. For those who are already official magicians, those who come from farther from all over the world, the rain of elements of the sky drop is an unexpected surprise. No magician will dislike the magic growth, and the improvement of elemental affinity is even more ecstatic. For a time, the entire Morning Star Tower is filled with the fragrant fragrance of violet, which is refreshing and long-lasting. Of course, this gift is not even drizzle for the heads of Hymo, Cesare, and the First and Foremost, but they are still silent in the rain of elements of this day. If such a powerful effect is sold through magical pharmacy, it is absolutely fought by countless magicians. It is just the rain of this element, and its value is probably at least the last epic magical thing. The consumption of Ziwei was not as large as the guests imagined, but the rain of this element almost exhausted all the violet flowers cultivated in the first batch of Arcane Garden, affecting the configuration of the violet medicine within 3 months. But in terms of the cost and the impact and effect, it is nothing at all. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 476. Ziwei's dream has finally achieved the first step. The pace of the arcane era is getting closer. Natalia stood in the plane transmission center not far away. Her vision is very good, seeing all happening everything of. He really did it, it was like a dreamy time, Charlotte had the deepest feeling. 2 years ago, she was only a small high-level magic apprentice, working hard to become a formal magician one day. In less than 2 years, she is already a 5th order Blood Knight and a 4-ring magician, and Ziwei started from a middle-level magic apprentice, completing the challenge of the 7 masters, along with the Arcane the release and the completion of the Morning Star Tower, where the Arcane Division headquarters is located, was originally a great ideal that was like a dreamy dream. Natalia and Charlotte, the 2 lovers of Ziwei, have sincere appreciation and praise for his achievements, but there are subtle differences between the 2. Charlotte is like a vine-like woman. She is wrapped around the tree of Ziwei, satisfying his needs and fulfilling his expectations. Ziwei has occupied most of her life and future, mostly summer. Lot is completely revolving around the West. Unlike Natalia, the family heir education received from childhood has cultivated her keen insight and overall vision of the military, politics, history and other fields that only men like, and Natalia has always had her own ideals and ambition. It's just that the encounter with Ziwei's encounter has awakened the tenderness of a woman who is sleeping in her body, but this is not enough to transform the whole person into a woman like a vine. On the contrary, she has always been a tree. She cannot tolerate herself as a vassal or cumbersome of Ziwei. She will go hand in hand with him, fight side by side, grow into the same tall towering tree, standing on the earth. Natalia's eyes flashed a bit of perseverance. I've done enough preparations, and then I'm going to start the challenge of my master's card. Natalia has been promoted to the 6th order Blood Knight. It has been a whole year. In this year, Natalia has been very serious about her life and time. This is how she has been from her father, Karo. Learned. She is grinding herself like a sword. Although the vows to victory fighter is so powerful, Natalia knows that it is not her own power. If you can complete the Master's Card Challenge and promote the Master's Blood Knight, then it will be easier to master the vows victory and the enemy you can fight will be stronger. Among the crowd cheering under the Morning Star Tower, there was a man in a dark blue cloak and robes who almost hidden the whole person in the shadows. She stood quietly and looked up at the night stars and the most shining in the sky. The Arcanist Ziwei is out of place with the people around him. She can only be recognized under the wide robes. She is a tall woman. Even though there were a full 6 legendary casters on the scene, no one noticed her speciality, because she was the first light of the Orient world, the future of the morning, Elysia. The Violet event has already come to a close. Ziwei waved his hand, the stars disappeared, the silver moon became dim, the sun once again hung above the sky, everything returned to normal. The image of the Lord of Change and the Emperor of the Emperor dissipated in the air after a few words with several archons, with the 7-star arcane badge just obtained. Several VIPs attending the ceremony, Vice President Heimo of the University of Copenhagen, Master of the Whiskey, the First and Second of the Green and Red of the North Witch Council, and the Cesare Dean of the Union of Magic School of Venice were also invited to board. Morning Star Tower, began a deeper exchange. For Ziwei, every important center of the magician in the Orient world to join the arcane system is a major victory, and the University of Copenhagen, the North Witch Council and the Venice Joint School of Magic are undoubtedly the second only to the Thousand Law Tower. And the most important magician center of the Royal Academy of Magic in France. Ziwei postponed the election of the Arcane Review Committee in order to be able to join these 3 forces. This is an important negotiation and is very important for the expansion of the Arcanist organization. If you can include the 5 most important magician centers in the world, plus your own Violet Academy, the advancement and development of the arcane will be unstoppable. With the release of each issue of the Arcane Journal, with the issuance of other affiliated journals with a slightly lower weight, the arcane concept is bound to be promoted. The magicians had to come out of ancient books and spells to see new changes in the world, actively or passively accepting changes in the magical world. Ziwei is not afraid of being left over. In addition to the legendary magicians of the 2 titles, even the legendary casters such as Bow Scholar Anthony, Blue Phantom Lannister, cannot be forward-looking in the arcane and research direction for the future. The judgment exceeds Ziwei. Now it's just the beginning. Ziwei can gain countless fans and supporters in the magician group by passing one and another heavyweight papers that will attract everyone's attention and guide the future of magic development. Whether it is the University of Copenhagen, the Northwich Council, or the Venice United Magic School, all three parties have conducted the highest level reconnaissance and evaluation of Ziwei, Violet, and Arcane in a short period of time. A consensus has been reached that the Arcane is very advanced and forward-looking and is likely to represent a new direction in the development of magic. This consensus has made the top of the three magician centers stunned, knowing that every new discovery in the magic field means a major revolution in the magic world. If you can seize the opportunity in this great revolution in the magic world, it is likely to go one step further. If you stand still, you are likely to be left far behind. There are very few idiots in the magician, especially at the level of the legendary caster. The level of the soul is far superior to that of ordinary people. The brain is extremely active, and it can complete countless logical and meticulous arguments in a flash. Therefore, the wisdom of learning becomes a magician to bring to everyone. The most common impression. Even the white head of the most sturdy Northland Witch Council changed its conservative attitude because of the blows and shocks caused by the incarnation of Ziwei in the sky of Allendale. This time, the young and the young first two together coming to Violet is a sign of goodwill. Only today's time belongs to the newborn arcane masters. Ziwei arranged for people to seriously entertain every distinguished guest, but did not open key talks with the three parties. He is now different in identity. As the chairman of the Arcane Review Club, one of the three 7-star arcanists, even the Bow Scholar Anthony and the Blue Phantom Lannister kept in the face of him. With enough respect, other arcans are very admired by Ziwei. Ziwei's 7 papers in the inaugural issue of Arcane deeply impressed every reader. Although they started earlier on the road to magicians than Ziwei, the current level of magicians is higher, but this can't represent anything. Bow Scholar Anthony is almost one of the longest-lived magicians in human beings. He and the Third Law Undead King Bades are contemporaries, when Tulafid has just achieved the first human legendary magician. He helped him build a 1,000-law tower in the foothills of Mount Abis, and witnessed the summit of the remaining 6 legendary magicians. He is like a living fossil in a magician, and although he is still a legendary caster, he is almost respected by all other legendary casters. He is also the speaker of the ABI's Law Council of the 1,000 Laws Tower, the de facto manager of the 1,000 Law Tower. Therefore, Ziwei also respected the Bow Scholar Anthony, and the two began an ardent exchange at the highest level of the Morning Star Tower. I am very sorry, due to the busy schedule, I am not very entertained these 2 days. I hope you can understand. Boss Scholar Anthony in front of Ziwei wore a purple high-necked mage robe with a pointed blue-gold star mage cap. It must be white, more like the legendary magician than the former Gatlin mage. I came to Violet this time and I want to meet you, Master Ziwei. Anthony's ears are sharp. In fact, his blood is flowing through the blood of the Japanese elf, which is why he lived so long and lived more than one. The reason for the 1,500 years old. It is necessary to know that the history of civilization of the entire human race is less than 3,000 years. He witnessed more than half of human history. He must be the person who knows the most events and secrets in the whole world. This is also the reason for his boss scholar. You have never been to the 1,000 Law Tower to learn. Almost no teacher has grown from a magic apprentice to a magic master in 2 years. Anthony's eyes looked straight at Ziwei. The Gatlin I have already found the clerk's file. He is only the most common 3-ring magician in the 1,000 Family Tower. He has never had any dazzling performance. Your growth experience contains many secrets, far beyond you. The wisdom that age can bring to you. Almost 70% of the magic masters in the entire world of Orient belong to the Tower of the 1,000 Law. At least in the Tower of the 1,000 Law, the world of magic is too vast and vast, the ocean of knowledge is too deep, no teacher pointing, Even if it is, again, it is also difficult for high-skilled magicians to grow step by step to the master class or even the legendary field. I lived 1,545 years old. I have only seen someone like you. Boss Anthony raised his head and looked into the distant sky. Vills, force field spells, the pioneer, the sixth law. Zai Wei became more and more serious about listening to the scholar Anthony, knowing that the secret of the mysterious sixth law is so rare. He used to be my student, my most proud disciple. At the age of 8, he independently completed the construction of a 3-ring spell. At that time, I did not hold a magician promotion ceremony for him, Anthony recalls. Although Zai Wei had been mentally prepared, he was shocked, and not to mention the age of 8, a magic apprentice completed the construction of the 3-ring spell. To know that the model of the 3-ring spell is too deep for a magic apprentice, it is almost incomprehensible, and you can't read it, let alone create a 3-ring spell. He went very smoothly on this road. The 9-year-old formal magician, the 11-year-old high-level magician, and the 15-year-old magic master, this is still my intention to suppress the speed of his promotion. Anthony has completely fallen into memory. Zhong, at the age of 21, he independently created the theory of force field spells, and became the 6th legendary magician in the entire Orient world. The 21-year-old legendary magician, the pioneer of the force field spell, shines too much even with those who are also legendary magicians like Victor Hugo and Dixela. But the force field spell did not develop into a force field school. While East is so smart. After the legendary magician, the magical world has no challenge for him, so he chose to leave the 1000 Law. The Tower, that year is the sacred calendar of 1553. He fell in love with a terrible woman, Holy Norman Empire, Alfred V. It was a woman who grew up in the court and was very good at playing with people. The 21-year-old Wheelie Stir fell in love and couldn't extricate himself. He dedicated his talents to the rise of the Holy Norman Empire. The magic guide ship was his invention, the master of the Holy Norman Empire and the army. With his support, the plain war was opened and one bit after another was conquered. Whilst is firmly tied to the chariot of the Holy Norman Empire, he stopped the process of establishing a position school and cultivating disciples, but used his own spells for the Holy Norman Empire. The army added wings and sharpened its claws. P.S. Still 300 words, no time, I will send it first, and I will fix it when I finish writing it. But the force field spell did not develop into a force field school. While East is so smart. After the legendary magician, the magical world has no challenge for him, so he chose to leave the 1000 Law. The Tower, that year is the sacred calendar of 1553. He fell in love with a terrible woman, Holy Norman Empire, Alfred V. It was a majesty of the queen who grew up in the court and defeated her 4 brothers and sisters and finally reached the throne. The 21-year-old Wheelie Stir fell in love and couldn't extricate himself. He dedicated his talents to the rise of the Holy Norman Empire. The magic guide ship was his invention, the master of the Holy Norman Empire and the army. With his support, the plain war was opened and one bit after another was conquered. Whilst is firmly tied to the chariot of the Holy Norman Empire. He stopped the process of establishing a position school and cultivating disciples. Instead, he used his own spells to add wings to the sacred Norman Empire. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 477. Zai Wei finally knows why the 6th Law does not have a large enough reputation in the magic world. His records have been deliberately destroyed from the magical world to the secular. The 1000 Law Tower regards this as a taboo. A legendary magician can say that there are tens of thousands of ways to escape from the crisis, even if he cannot defeat the Abyss army of the 7 Demon Kings, but the Demon Kings obviously cannot leave Wheelie Stir. However, due to the deep entanglement with the Holy Norman Empire and the Queen, he chose to die and not fall back, and eventually fell into the void. Perhaps it was in his own body that he saw the shadow of the former disciple, Wheelie Stir. Anthony spoke about the legendary story that had already been buried and gave him a piece of advice. From here you can also see the attitude of Anthony and most of the magicians he represents. War, glory, faith, and I don't have much of a key. All I have to do is learn and research, and improve my level of magician. It is. This represents a born philosophy that is the opposite of the court magicians who rely on the royal family. Of course, this is also an important reason why the Tower of the Thousand Law can stand for thousands of years, but this is what Zai can't do. Can Arcane simply be an academic and change the world with gradual innovation? Of course, if the original contract continues to exist and peace and development are the mainstream of the world, then Zai will not need to be as urgent as it is now. He can move forward on the path of the magician and grow his knowledge and ability. One day, I will create my own magic school and directly promote to the legendary magician. There will be countless people flocking, and a huge magic school can be from scratch in a short time. However, the world has never been peaceful. Even the humans of the 35th century AD have had dozens of bonfires throughout the world after leaving the mother planet. The Orient world is not a natural harmony of birds and flowers. It is a whole world that is so vast and complex, and even a multiverse. When the original contract, the Millennium Pact signed by Msu and the Lord of Glory, finally came to an end, it was like igniting the fuse of war. Even a less sensitive person, as long as he stood on a certain position, has been able to insight into the mysterious undercurrent hidden under the calm water. The war is inevitable, and it will continue to escalate. From ordinary people to professionals, to masters, to legends, to the sanctuary, and then to the true gods will be involved. This will be a whole European world. The unprecedented crisis far exceeds the scale and harm of the two empires when the elves and the orcs competed for hegemony. But the crisis has also brought opportunities. The shackles of those half-god strong men have finally been liberated for thousands of years. The temptation to ignite the immortality between the stars and the stars is almost impossible for anyone to resist. The pattern of the world there will be earth-shaking changes. Since Zai came to the world of Orient in this crucial time, he wants to truly control his own destiny. He must not miss this opportunity, even if he can protect the peace of Violin in the upcoming war. When the dust of war falls, after the victors are among the stars, the existence of the new gods will surely block the success of the latecomers. Therefore, it is impossible for Zai to follow the advice of Bo scholar Anthony to be a magician who concentrates on personal strength growth and academic research. He is the leader of Violet and the leader of the Arcane era, trying to be in the near future. Achieving the great cause of one law, and finally the people who have reached the peak of the world. Even if there is a person who knows the people, it is impossible to know the burning fire of the ambitions in the chest of Zai. Bo scholar Anthony gave his advice and suggestions and then quietly left, but Zai is more determined. I have my own thoughts. Even with the sixth law, Wei Stir, for thousands of years, can only produce a talented person. The legendary powerhouse cannot avoid the fate of the fall. In the upcoming dark frenzy, Zai will never try single-handedly. The development of Arcane needs civilization and needs order. Therefore, he must stand on the side of light and order, and the united forces can unite to cope with the enemies in the shadow. Unlike the magical towers of the Thousand Laws Tower and the Royal Academy of Magic, such as the legendary magician, the lesser-known magic centers of Copenhagen University, the North Witches Council, and the Venice United Magic Academy are the next steps for Zai. For the power of the game, Arcane will play a leading and bonding role, turning the elite of the magician into the supporter of the arcane idea and the seed of the arcane master, so that the arcane concept can spread quickly. Every magician can be said to be an elite of the people. It is impossible to completely integrate the ideas of all the magicians and turn them into an orderly army. The arcane core, magicians, and spells in the Zaiwei plan belong to strategic weapons. The ace of the arcane core will be a magical war weapon produced by the magical industrial civilization. In the Orient world, the enemy will be defeated by iron and fire to establish order. Zaiwei has a large enough ambition, but he also has sufficient patience. The future is chaotic. I don't know how many players are on the huge board of Orient. The final winner is still hidden in the fog. Zaiwei wants to follow the example of a founding emperor in the world, growing grain, building a wall, and slowing down the king, but the new arcane idea and Violet Island are likely to be the focus of enemies in the shadows. For this, Zaiwei also has an idea, that is, the Dark Parliament to be held 50 days later. Guided by the third law undead King Bads, the gathering of the dark forces held in the land of the dead in the bones of the land, this must be a pre-war mobilization, joint and distribution theater. Crow Schiller also received an invitation, and another important identity of Zaiwei, the eight-ring spiritual master Dai, is a very worthy identity. In the Dark Council, Zaiwei must find a way to attend, even if he only wants to be an observer. This will be his rare opportunity to observe the possible future enemies at a close distance. In this way, Zaiwei has to cope with another problem, that is, how to facing the White Ravens, Schiller. Schiller is different from other legendary spellcasters. He is a master of the spiritual school. He has developed spiritual magic to this level, and established the great city of White Crow City in the spiritual dream plane, enslaving the soul hunter race for the soul. The mage's work. Everything he has done is very close to what a legendary magician needs. Among all the legendary casters, the one closest to Domina's door, I'm afraid there is only Bow Scholar Anthony. And he can be compared. The method of Zaiwei's incarnation of Dai is not very clever, and may be able to win over others. However, it is almost impossible to deceive the past in front of the leader of the spiritual school of Schiller, the White Ravens. Zaiwei temporarily put this trouble down. Since the opening of a good head, the most important thing at present is to fight the iron and do the follow-up. The draft of the second edition of Arcane has already begun. This time it is not only the Tower of the Law and the Royal Academy of Magic in France, but even the University of Copenhagen has a large number of submissions. Dean Cesare also represents the Venice United Magic School. Will select and organize a group of excellent papers to contribute to the Arcane. The spells of the North Witches' Parliament are not so official, but after the first meeting of the Green and Red, they decided not to miss this opportunity. In addition, the magicians who came from all over the world of Orient sent more than 270 magic papers to the Morning Star Tower where the Arcanist headquarters is located in a short day. The thesis is the result of their research for more than 10 years. It can be said that these people are all holding a hope, and they hope that their research can be recognized by the Arcane and truly can be famous in the whole world. The quality of these papers is uneven, and most of them are absurd or have little value. The author himself is limited by his cognition and his own strength. He has gone astray and is trapped in it and unable to extricate himself. A lot of time and effort, but the research results can only be regarded as a pile of waste. However, gold is always hidden in the gravel, and the real treasure can only be seen after the big waves are washed. After Zaiwei used his leisure time to read about 50 submissions, he found 2 new papers and one very valuable one. A paper sufficient for publication on Arcane. Australian can hold up to 20 papers per month, and Zaiwei does not intend to continue to thicken Arcane or change to a half-monthly or even weekly magazine. Arcane will be the future of the entire Arcane civilization. The highest level of professional journals published in any of the above papers is the author's honor. Therefore, the issuance of the second class and 3 category subdivisions and affiliated publications is very necessary. The first plan of Zaiwei is to print the Journal of Violet and publish the entire magical world of Orient. The Journal of Violet is the Violet Research Journal of the Violet Academy. It contains excellent papers from professors, lecturers, and students. It covers the fields from magic apprentices to high-level magicians. It is closest to the vast magicians. It is more suitable for magical journals read by ordinary magicians. The remaining two types of journals also need to be discussed with the heads of the 5 magic centers, but under the lead organization of Sci-fi, another heavyweight magical journal is destined to be released in the same way as the second edition of Arcane. The name of this journal is also very simple, called Magic. Unlike the Arcane, which only publishes various theories and arguments, the Magic journal publishes a variety of novel and practical spells. How do each spell have ideas, how to construct a spell model, and deploy spellcasting materials. The key points of the key casting must be fully described. It can be said that as long as the level of the magician and the requirements of specialization are met, reading the paper is enough for most magicians to learn this new spell. The relationship between Arcane and Magic is like the relationship between Dharma and Shaolin's 72 stunts. Arcane is the foundation of true civilization, and it is high and low. Magic is a real big killer, the existence of countless magicians. Therefore, Magic cannot be widely published in a short time, which is equivalent to revealing his secret to outsiders. The new Magic journal will be released in the Arcane Masters in a limited number of 5 magic centers, aiming to expand the spell list of the arcanists and enhance the attraction of the Arcane Master. The Magic journal is actually born out of Western Way's spell list, and Sci-fi, Zero and Kristen's next big effort is to be used to improve and innovate the Western Way's spell list. Different from the previous functional improvements, this time to make a key breakthrough, greatly improve the mental interaction and transmission efficiency of Western Way's spell list, in order to expand the Western Way's spell list as the server and library of the Magic journal. Since people are always selfish, so the result of deliberation, Sci-fi will open half of the inaugural issue of Magic, which is a full 10 spells, ranging from 3 rings to 7 rings. There are 5 Towers of the Thousand Laws, the French Royal Academy of Magic, 3, and the other 3, each of which is exactly 20 spells, and the number of papers in the inaugural issue of Arcane is equal. Magic journals will also reward Arcane points, but the weight will be slightly lower than Arcane, but will also rank second in all future magical journals. The Journal of Violet will also be included in the Arcane system. Papers published in the Journal of Violet will receive Arcane points. Of course, the weight is very low, especially the papers of the students may require a lot of articles. 10 Arcane points and become a 1-star Arcane Master. For the promotion of Arcane and Magic, Sci-fi is not hidden, and he does not need to hide. In a sense, this means that he will naturally occupy the absolute leader in the future Arcane Empire. No one can compete with him. Therefore, Sci-fi will continue to publish a large number of papers and spells in the 2 major journals of Arcane and Magic until he is far behind everyone's Arcane points. Although Sci-fi is not the 6th law Ilminster's eternal talents in the millennium, his research on the mystery of the ether has become more and more in-depth and closer to the core of the field. This means that it is not so far away for Sci-fi to win the title of the legendary magician of the elemental school, although he is only a magic master on the bright side. Of course, Sci-fi has not been able to sense the existence of the door that Dela said from the soul level, let alone truly cross the door. His current theoretical research is beyond his own soul level, and he is not a true legendary caster. He has a long way to go from the legendary magician who is equivalent to the sanctuary. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 478. The Violet Grand event finally ended. After 3 days of urgent consultations and multi-party talks, after talking about the most important issues such as Arcane and Magic, all the guests left the island, and they also left. There are many magicians, but many of them want to stay and study or teach at the Violet College. There are many middle and high-level magicians, and even 2 masters of magic. They majored in elemental schools and have long been unable to find a way to move on. However, the papers of Sci-fi brought hope to them. If you accept these hundreds of magicians without any screening, the power of Violet will expand in an instant, but it will become uneven, affecting the planning of the entire college and the healthy development of Violet. It's not enough to eat a fat man. Ziwei finally came up with a simple test plan. The first test is magic theory, and the second is similar to the interview of a big company, including many interpersonal relationships, teamwork, and morality. Test questions like that. // fiction. When I heard that the president of Ziwei had issued a test questionnaire, many of the magicians who had left the game had restarted, even if they had not made up their mind to give up the power and status they had already obtained, but always look at the one. It is very likely that in the future, a new magical school will be created, and it will be difficult to test the test questionnaire of a famous Westway master. In fact, there are only 5 major questions in the magic theory questionnaire, which are subjective argumentation analysis questions. The topics are very short, but the difficulty level is the standard progressive, and each road is far more difficult than the previous one. The first question is even a person who has just become a magician can try to answer. The second question is that many middle-level magicians have started. The third question is that many high-level magicians have handed in the white scrolls, and the fourth question and even the 2 magic masters have only answered half of them. The last question is to demonstrate whether matter and energy can be converted to each other. This question seems simple. The magical crystal is full of magic, releasing them is magic energy. However, the magic in the arcane crystal has passed, but the arcane crystal itself still exists. This is not a conversion between matter and energy. Many magicians are surprised that all the spells mastered or understood are so complicated, but almost no spell can do this. Transforming matter into energy and shaping it into matter. I am afraid that only the gods can do it. Novel network. Many magicians hold some ancient and powerful secrets, and a lot of energy are used to exercise some spell-casting feats. They are proud of this and think that they are really powerful magicians. However, the questionnaire of this is very arcane. It is completely stupid in front of you. All the problems are not entangled in the spell itself, but how to use the techniques to reveal and demonstrate the objective laws of the world, and how to use these objective laws to create more practical and powerful spells. Some people sneered at this strange test questionnaire, and even screamed, but more people were caught in the touch, combined with the very creative and inspiring scene in the inaugural issue of Arcane. Thesis: perhaps this is the future of magic. As the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Copenhagen, Mr. Hemer, commented on the Arcane, this journal finally awakens the magician from the dream of the caster. Our magician is doing experimental and groundbreaking theoretical research instead of simply study how to become a more skilled spell mechanic. The Violet Academy does not have many high-end forces, so Ziwei had to sit in the invigilation and review the papers. His review work is very fast. The most important thing is of course the 5 magic theory questions. The volume of this paper is very high. It can clearly distinguish whether a magician's thinking is rigid, whether it is imaginative and creative, whether it is have a rigorous logical thinking ability. There is no standard answer in Ziwei's heart. What's more important is that he can make a big wave of sandpaper through this test paper. He chooses the candidate who is the most suitable for the Violet and the most promising to become the future arcane master. Most of the magicians who came directly to Violet Island after seeing the inaugural issue of Arcane were very young. They learned a lot from the inaugural issue of Arcane, and they also published the 7th in the West. The masterpieces of different fields have a kind of primitive worship, so the acceptance of new theories of new things is also very high. Almost everyone has exhausted 2 magical moments. Seriously, this is enough to determine the future. Destiny exam. The second test is a lot easier. It is a magical problem, but it is a bigger problem for some lonely and quirky magicians. In fact, this test paper plays a complementary role. A candidate who is sufficiently good in the first assessment will be admitted directly. It is not possible that everyone is at the forefront of the theory of arcane theory. Violet Academy also lacks a large number of wizard-level lecturers and staff. For these people, magic theory and arcane philosophy are less decisive, but more pay attention to whether the personality is sound, serious, and responsible. Ziwei completed the invigilation and approval work in the fastest time. 35 of the candidates who applied for admission and teaching were selected. 12 of them passed the test of magic theory and were recognized by Ziwei as an arcane. The potential of the division will be further studied at the Violet Academy. 23 people passed the second assessment, and they will join the Violet Academy as a lecturer and staff. Of course, this does not prevent them from continuing to pursue their growth path. The number of magicians who took the exam eventually exceeded 200, and most of them had to leave Violet with regret, but few people gave birth to resentment. The admission of the Thousand Law Tower is even more terrible. Hundreds of candidates may not be able to get a lucky one to enter the 1,000 ways. In contrast, Violet's acceptance rate for this assessment is already very high. Most of the 35 people who joined the Violet Academy this time are middle and high-level magicians. Their ages are also between the ages of 25 and 50. They are young and promising among the magicians. It can be said that they instantly make up the Violets. The gap in the high-level magician hierarchy in the college has made the development of the entire college more healthy and orderly. One of the two magic masters was defeated, and Ziwei personally informed him of the result. In the reception room on the first floor of the Violet Berg, Ziwei took a shallow drink of black tea and looked straight at the old man who was already wrinkled in the skin but was well maintained and full of charm. "I am very sorry, Master Ruster, you have not passed this test and the Violet Academy is very sorry to accept your participation." Ruster did not have any unexpected expressions. His upper body leaned back slightly and placed a comfortable posture in the soft sofa. "In the magic theory test, I really couldn't keep up with the new trend. But in the second questionnaire, I think I should have achieved no results. No, if you follow the 100% system, your second questionnaire will get at least 95 points, which is the highest score of this test." Ziwei sighed and said with bluntness, "Should you be a court magician?" Many characters in the novel network. The so-called court magician is different from the college magician. These magicians are mixed between the royal family, the great aristocrats and the powerful ministers. They use the magician's identity to win respect and use the intelligent brain far beyond ordinary people to make suggestions. Usually the closest relationship with a heavyweight big man, equivalent to the big man's owner, can also be a part-time bodyguard at a critical moment. For the court magician, the level of the magician is only their promotion status, making more powerful tools. They prefer the power of the magic theory. The master of the master is so insightful that although he has never seen such a test before, he still has the shortest insight into the ideas and requirements of the person who chose the most correct answer. It is easy to hand over a nearly full-fledged answer sheet. The arcane era has just begun, and the arcane empire has no rudimentary shape. Ziwei and Violet don't need these court magicians to join, which will make everything complicated, and even soon involved in internal friction. The new arcane and arcanist system is full of vitality, united with ideals and the future, so Ziwei had to refuse the addition of the Master. "I didn't expect President Ziwei to make such a huge contribution in the field of magic, and also have clear judgments and speculations on the human heart." Ruster seems to default to the identity of the court magician. The second questionnaire is very innovative. I am very like, each question seems to be casual, but it can be a short and direct judgment of the habits, personality, and certain subconscious choices that he does not even know. These questions are of course deep in the way, which is the classic test questions of the 10 greatest commercial giants in the 35th century ad. Violet is an academically important college. I built Violet in the remote western Golden Sea, just to avoid too much sand and dust to make people's hearts hear. President Ziwei, you are very young, very good, full of ambition, but the performance is gentle. At your age, You are not only a magical genius, even if you are a prince, you can certainly fight in the cruel king. Winning in the middle, with the crown of glory. Master said that I am a very sensitive person. I smell the chaos from the prairie on the other side of the Ural Mountains. I heard the closer the approaching war, the more I saw the country turned into a sea of fire. My soul was uncontrollably instigated, and a new era is coming. And you, Master Ziwei, was the one who made the most incredible wave before the arrival of this era. I came to see you with my own eyes. It is really worthwhile. Hearing this passage, Ziwei did not hesitate to open the real magic eye, but even the big powers such as the Lord of Change and the Lord of the Morning can only see a virtual and shadow. A magician can never do this. Your eyes are very bright. Such eyes usually only appear on the most wise kings and commanders. Ruster smiled and said that I was looking forward to the wonderful performance of President Ziwei in the following years, then goodbye. The Rus in front of Ziwei made a shadow of the wind, and quickly dissipated in shape. This is not his own personal, but just an incarnation. Ziwei sensed the darkness and shadow of the space. Just like the shadow plane he entered today, this is the purest shadow power. His master has surpassed the legendary rank, at least a sanctuary. Strong. Even with 11 Wei's accomplishments in space spells and spiritual spells, the law traces the whereabouts of this Rus, and he really did it. 11 Wei did not expect to actually judge the mistakes. I thought it was a court magician, but I didn't expect it to be a strong master of the legend of the shadow power. This level exists even in the whole world of the Orient world. The multiverse is never a name, and it may not take long for him to be true. There is not much frustration in this dimension. He was already a little magic apprentice and he has already received the attention of Ms. Yin Yu. Even in the heart of the lake, he has faced one of the 7 demon kings who have gone deep into the abyss. The organization organized the Abyss Army to use the general offensive of the waves to strangle the 6th law of Wylister's deceitful demons. I also met the mysterious Styapan in the deep sea plane. It was just a horror of its image. I also experienced a real fantasy in the fascinating Life Hotel in Sicily. I saw that the person sent it. An hourglass, an unfathomable incarnation of the gnome of a little gnome. The entire world of Orient has cultivated not many people for thousands of years. However, in the great era of the vicissitudes of the coming world, it will surely debut, which is the most shining part of an unprecedented history. And the moment. Ask the vast land who is the main ups and downs. No one knows the final result, but Ziwei's choice of the future road will not be shaken. At this moment, Ziwei was at the highest level of vigilance, and the soul level was also the most active and clear. He soon perceived a powerful and familiar person outside the gate of Violetberg, who had seen it in Notre Dame de Paris. Face, the bright sacred woman who once boarded the cover of the 3rd edition of the Par Daily, the Lord of the Morning, Eulizia. It seems that the carefully prepared tea has finally waited for a more worthy guest. Ziwei waved his hand and placed a new tea set on the table. The green tea in the cup was starting from the beginning. To be continued. Chapter 455 Master. The 455th chapter of Master is played by *small SpeakNet members. Arcane Age only represents the author's point of view. If the content is found to be inconsistent with the national laws, please delete it. The position is only to provide a healthy and green reading platform. Thank you all. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 479. At the place where Yuli Chia went, all the way to the door opened, and the violet inside the violet castle was filled with fragrance, and the fragrance of the violet was refreshing. Although the arrival of Eulizia was somewhat unexpected from Ziwei, it is reasonable to think about it. Eulizia did not heed the call of Pope Benton XVIII, otherwise she should have been in the paradise of the paradise. Then when the original contract ends and the Dark Age comes, the existence of the Lord of the Morning will inevitably be equivalent to a lamp in the darkness. Even if it is slight, it is so conspicuous. The Lord of the Morning is bound to belong to the Order camp. Her power source determines this point, and the arcane guided by Zaiwei is also orderly. Therefore, although they have completely different power systems and organizations, they also help each other. The power to hold the group to warm. At the time of the monastery of Notre Dame, Civi realized this. The Lord of the Morning and the Bishop of Anthas also expressed goodwill in a timely manner, but at that time he was not qualified to be with the Lord of the Morning and Her Majesty. The strength of the comments, so this long-awaited negotiations have been postponed to the present. But fortunately, everything is still too late. In the last sunset of the darkness before the fall, the young man of the morning, Ulysses, finally made up his mind. Is it a bit disappointing to see me instead of the Duke of Rose? Ulysses showed a bright smile in the spring. She is the embodiment of light and warmth in the world, like the sun in the winter, warm and unbearable. Live want to be close. Sophie is leading the world's top Rose Orchestra to tour the whole world. It has just entered the Black Sea from the Syria region and is about to go to the Orc country on the other side of the sea. Zaiwei invited Ulysses sat across from him. This is the most important thing for her. It must be done as soon as possible. Nice to meet you, Ulysses. I think that your evaluation is very high, but your achievements far exceed my expectations. Ulysses looked at 11 Wei's eyes. You made a bad achievement, Arcane. The emergence of the birth of the Arctic Master will change the pattern of magic as a major force in the world. A force that is enough to influence the balance of the mainland is sprouting, and it is in your hands. Ulysses, I think you and the Pope should choose a completely different path to deal with the future change. Zaiwei avoided the compliment of Ulysses, went straight to the most important topic, and arrived at him. The current level, the so-called speech or negotiation skills, has no effect. Benton 18 seems to have made a wise choice, but it only delays the process of destiny to die. With the departure of the glorious Lord, the light power of the entire Orient world has changed. It becomes a rootless water, and it takes 1 point to consume 1 point. This is not a problem that they can solve in the Franconian plane. Euricia's evaluation of Benton 18 is not very high, of course. Standing in his position, this is already the best looking of all the choices. However, I can't do this. I have to build my own beliefs in the next turbulent times, and even have to lead my enemy. Competitors on the road, climb to the throne, otherwise the fall is the destiny that I will be destined. If Sufi, who masters the music priesthood, can still live in peace with most of the demigods with ambitions, then the goal is to have such an important bright priesthood. Those who have been suppressed by the glorious Lord Church for more than 2,000 years, and the resentment of hiding like Tibet like a mouse, and even the hatred accumulated by countless relatives and teachers' disciples by the light trial will never allow a new glory on the mainland. The main church. Therefore, if you want to climb to the top, you must be 1 step ahead, preemptively seal the gods, and then use the dominant position to shred and crush the enemy one by one, otherwise it will fall into the siege of countless powerful enemies. The Lord of the Morning Eurycia is far more difficult and dangerous than the music master Sophie, but in the same way, she will also gain a powerful priesthood and divine power far beyond Sophie. This road is more rugged, the scenery is also more beautiful. If you simply make a division of the camp for the coming turbulent times, then there will be 2 very different camps, one representing the Order, the 5 great powers of the Orient, the Church of the Glorious Lord, and Ulysses. The Church, and the violets that I represent and I represent. Another demon, the demon of the infinite abyss, the spider behind the dark area, the monsters with long life and powerful strength among the infinite stars of the multifaceted plane. Although there will be frictions and disputes within the 2 camps, the confrontation between the camps will inevitably be the biggest conflict in the early days of the turbulent times. The Church of the Glorious Lord who lost the grace of grace has chosen to withdraw. Then the 5 great powers must appear directly in the first line of conflict. The power of darkness is so powerful, they have prepared too long for this opportunity to change the world, an organization that aims to coordinate interests, the Dark Parliament will soon be established, and the power of order is so dispersed the 5 kingdoms are fighting each other, and the magicians still choose to remain neutral. So Ulysses, at this moment you appear in front of me, what kind of appeals are there? Ziwei said his views on the future without hesitation. A negotiation about the entire continent of Orient was officially opened. The existence of the Lord of Glory is a double-edged sword for me. I have learned a lot from the glory of the Lord for the use of light power, learned the establishment of church organizations and the cultivation of pastors. I have almost all believers from the glory. The main church Yulichia said that she paused here, but the Lord of Glory is too strong. His glory is brighter than 1,000 suns. His power is even more than the Orient world. The upper limit that can be carried. Because of his existence, I have been in a state of being suppressed, unable to analyze my own source of power, so that I have been in the most primitive semi-god realm. I still cannot get from the prayers of believers. Faith and strength can only give divine power to a small number of believers. In this way, the morning church cannot expand its scale and open up its faith, and everything is in a dilemma. Mr. Shavi, you are the wise man who knows the rules and can sum up and summarize the chaos and the original norm in the current world. I am from your elemental inscriptions, protective inscriptions, summoning inscriptions, change inscriptions, etc. This is seen in the creation of the magic school, which is what I lack. The power of light needs to be analyzed. The morning priests must learn to master the magic. This is the only way to get rid of the difficulties. Ulysses standing up, bent down and stared at Ziwei deeply. I beg you for your help. I hope you can help me analyze the source of light. If the magic masters of the magicians are derived from the 4 basic elements of the earth's fire and feng shui, then there are 2 sources of power that are completely different but opposite each other, that is, light and dark. In a short period of time, Ziwei has seen 2 peaks who represent the power of light and dark. The Master of Master is a person with deep control over the power of the shadow. The strongman above the legend, the younger lady of the morning, Ulysses, is the first light of the Orient world. If it is not the arrival of the glory, she is likely to become the brightest in the world of the Orient world. The of divine power. The world of Orient is a new world, compared with the life of the universe that used to be a few billion years old. According to the Bow scholar Anthony, through the analysis of rock geological changes and biological races and in-depth exploration, the history that can be traced back is only 100,000 years. 100,000 years, a seemingly very long life, is just a moment for a world. This is also why the multidimensional plane where the Orient world is located is still born with new planes, and the old planes are also growing and growing. 100 and 200 years ago, when the Church of the Glorious Church discovered the beautiful and rich plain of Francon, it was only a medium-sized plain, but now it has grown to the level of large plains. The new smooth plain controlled by Ziwei himself is expanding at a speed visible to the naked eye. It can be said that the entire Orient universe is new and full of vitality. So there is only one in the whole world of Orient, the mysterious Silver Moon Lady Elena. So many powerful priests are not in control, one by one is in the vacancy. For the request of the Lord of the Morning, Ziwei could not refuse. It was not because of the noble and intimate beauty in front of Yali, but that Ziwei had a very strong desire to explore the source of light. Through continuous and in-depth research on the ground feng shui and the 5th element ether, Ziwei has been able to conclude that elements, light and shadow, are the core grassroots structure of the whole world and represent the most profound and deepest force in the world. If one person has complete control over these forces, it will be far more powerful than the sanctuary in the field of mastery. If we rely on the 5th element of the ether, Ziwei has a clue to the exploration of the elemental source, then he really never touched and could not explore for light and shadow. But now standing in front of him, the woman who made the request is the first light of the Orient world. The younger lady of the morning, Ulysses, represents the original light source of the immense world of the Orient world. The younger lady of the morning, Ulysses, is already a semi-god strong man. She truly stands on the top of the world's strongest, and the true combat power of the will is probably the top 5 or even the top 3 in the world of the Orient world. A few legendary magicians, but also to open up the Westway do not know how many levels. Without the cooperation of the late morning Lord Ulyssia, Ziwei would never have the opportunity to explore the source of light, which is the core of her power, something that is far more important than the body, the brain, and the mind in a certain sense. This means that the early morning Lord Ulyssia will have no reservations about Ziwei, and it must be a very difficult decision. As a selected person, Ziwei is also very happy. I am honored to receive your approval and evaluation from Ulyssia. I will do my best for your request. Ziwei also stood up and extended his right hand to the blonde in front of him. This will be an important opportunity, represents the union of the violet and the morning church, just like the two lights lit up in the dark world. From now on we will fight side by side, stick to the light and order, and fight against evil and chaos. At this moment, both the morning church and the violet are still in their infancy, and from the perspective of power, they are far weaker than the 5 great powers of the mainland. But no country is a piece of iron, only one will. The king divides the nobility, the aristocrats lead the people, and the 5 great powers of Orient are still in the standard feudal era, and because of the existence of the aristocracy, the ruling class holds a powerful force. Therefore, there is a long-lasting peace. But the turbulent era is coming. The Church of the Glorious Lords initiated the sacred retreat, and the 5 great powers must become the object of the numerous biting wolves and griffins, just because they have the greatest wealth and population. Not only that, but the weaker cities, the Commonwealth, the Principality, and the Horde will fall into the dark in the first time of the turbulent times. Only the most powerful and well-prepared people may be spared. The power of darkness has been deconstructed for a long time, and the union has begun. Ziwei cannot fight against the darkness alone. It is very important to choose the most suitable ally. The young monk of the morning, Ulyssia, and her morning church, naturally become the whole of Ziwei. The most suitable ally that the mainland can find. Ulyssia was also very happy with Ziwei's reply. She and Ziwei's hands were tightly held together for a long time. The whole person of Ulyssia is the embodiment of bright energy. She is not as human as Sophie, so her feelings for Ziwei have always been unreal, until this moment clenched with her hand. 11 Wei was as if he finally had a real feeling. The two finally separated their clasped hands, and Ulyssia sat down to pick up the tea in front of her. Do you have an impression of the name of Ruster? He has the power of the shadows that are very close to the source, and his personal strength is above the legendary level. Ziwei raised a question. Just? At least 30,000 years of Shadow Dragon, the creator of the Shadow Sorcerer organization. Ulysses really knows about this Rust, all-powerful creatures in the shadow plane. Among them, his control of the shadow source is the closest to the core. Dragon of Shadows, Ziwei silently, did not expect that Rus actually a dragon. The dragons have long left the stage of the continent of the Orient. The dragon is a great creature with a legendary level of strength as long as it grows up. The strongest of them evolved into a very powerful life in the long life, and also approached the level of the demigod. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 480. The Violet Island on October 1, 1787 is very lively, because this is the time for the new year of the Violet Academy to enter the journal. The establishment of the Violet Academy was less than a year old, but it has become the most powerful magic school in the whole of the Orient continent from the original small college that was previously unknown. Compared with the old magical Holy Land that has stood for hundreds of years, such as the Tower of the Thousand Laws and the Royal Academy of Magical Academy of France, the standard of enrollment in the College of the Western Golden Sea is still relatively low. Many of the magician's sons or family descendants, blood. Young girls with a magical talent in the nobility can easily reach the standard. With the publication of Arcane and the emergence of the first alchemists in the world of Orient, a new wave of fashion is rapidly gaining popularity in the magic world of the Orient continent. As long as the magicians gather, there will be people. Discuss Arcane and the Arcanists Sci-fi. In this case, the reputation of the Violet Academy has expanded from the Kingdom of France to the entire continent of Orient, and the qualifications of magic apprentices and magicians applying for admission this year have also greatly improved. Under this circumstance, Charlotte, Mrs. Winschel, and Faoué, who were in charge of enrollment, had to give up many of the lesser candidates, and continued to expand their enrollment after obtaining the consent of Ziwei. Recruiting a total of 1,200 new students, the original empty dormitory of the Violet College was quickly filled up, and even Nanhai Town became crowded and looked very lively. The area of Violet Island is not large. It can be said that without affecting the beautiful scenery, the scale of nearly 5,000 people in Violet has reached the upper limit of the existing colleges and universities. Next year, Ziwei will consider reclamation. It's just that Violet has recruited a new group of lecturers, otherwise the old teachers are really not enough to cope with the new teaching. The Violet Academy can be said to be really changing every day, and it is developing rapidly with the speed of blowing balloons. Compared with the strict requirements of other magical holy places, Violet has truly taught and classless, and student life is extremely exciting. A variety of colorful teaching methods and social practices as well as entertainment methods make everyone very happy and efficient. On this day, dozens of outstanding magicians who went to the deep sea plane for summer practice finally returned to Violet through the transmission plane of the plane transmission center. They have the exhaustion of the dust, and they have grown a lot. Reading thousands of books and traveling thousands of miles, this is a famous saying inscribed on the wall of the Violet Student Practice Center. Many students also remember the words of President 11 Wei. What is that? A tower like a galaxy. Just stepped out of the plane transfer center, a magician was surprised to find the Morning Star Tower of the Arcane Division headquarters not far away. I always feel that something is very important to miss. Trees looked at the distant Morning Star Tower, and said with regret. I think we will know the answer soon. Ismalata, the student president with a pair of demon, said with a smile. She had already seen her brother, Jude. Jude grew up a lot in just 1 year, more like a real man, and the neat short hair that has been combed has added more mature charm. Jude, the head of the drama club, has become the dream of most girls in the entire Violet Academy. After getting the explanation of the instructor Ziwei, Jude finally put down a heavy psychological burden. He no longer struggles with his slow promotion speed, but completes his studies more solidly. I was promoted to the official magician. It was a month ahead of my expected speed. Esmeralda went to the younger brother and she showed a happy smile. An unexpected adventure. Just a week ago, the meeting of the Arcsal Review Club and the Arctic Masters Conference was held. This Morning Star Tower was built by the president of Ziwei, the headquarters of the Arcanist. The headmaster lowered the rain of elements in the night stars. Almost all the magicians present were condensed and increased by magic. I also crossed the threshold of the official magician. Jude looked at the Morning Star Tower full of eyes. Desire. He obviously also seems to be able to enter the tower one day, as a glory of the Arcanist. It was a pity that I couldn't witness this event. Tree said with emotion. Let me go, I still have a lot of important things to deal with. So everyone disbanded here and went back to their respective residences. As the leader of the Violet Academy, most of them moved out of the dormitory and lived in clean and tidy apartments. Esmeralda and Jude and their younger brothers walked side by side on the streets of the Violet Academy. The two men were handsome, and the women's temperament was dusty. Esmeralda and Jude live in a 2-row villa, each occupying a side, sharing a restaurant, living room and kitchen, and the most critical simple magic laboratory. Esmeralda took out one large package from the space ring and instantly filled the entire living room. Each package was round and labeled. What is this? Jude asked on the sofa, curiously. Biological specimens, special soils, and plants collected in the deep-sea plain. Esmeralda talked with Jude and skillfully opened all the parcels, sorted them into categories, and placed them in the laboratory. "Why did you bring so much?" Jude frowned, and the materials needed for the magic experiment were not so exaggerated. "I have found a new topic that is worth exploring, and it takes a lot of time and effort to study, and these experimental materials are exactly what I need." Esmeralda wore a very capable white shirt and jeans, hair it has become a simple ponytail, and the hibiscus on the face is generally beautiful, without any makeup. "Get up, instead of squatting on the sofa, it is better to help me sort out these experimental materials. You are already a formal magician, you can be my experimental assistant. If I can get good research results, I will write a paper and publish it in the Journal of Violet." Upon hearing the last sentence, the original lazy Jude was in a moment of energy, and he stood up and began to organize his work with great enthusiasm. "How are you so diligent today?" "I am not a little girl who needs your attention," Esmeralda commanded Jude, and the two worked together more efficiently. "Do you know? The Arcane Division's assessment criteria have been published, and a 1-star Arcane Division only needs 10 Arcane points. The current way to get Arcane points is in Arcane Magic, and the Journal of Violet published a paper. The standards of Arcane and Magic are too high. The Journal of Violet is the only chance we can get Arcane points now." Jude's speed is very fast, like a machine gun bullet. In this short period of time, Esmeralda has been working with a single heart, mentally connected to the Violet Badge, boarded the Violet Forum, and learned about the recent big events and big news of the entire college. "Then cheer up, if you make enough valuable contributions, I will add your name to my thesis as the second author," Esmeralda said without hesitation. "Don't worry about my sister, I am professional," Jude replied in an instant. Trees rushed to the heart and used the intensive blast to speed up and ran quickly, and soon returned to his hut. "Trizer, you are finally back." After opening the door, the pleasant girl Sui 11 directly plunged into the arms of Trees. During this time, the feelings of the two people quickly warmed up, although they did not confess each other, but they have already had a lot of relatives. Tracy has just entered the high-level magic apprenticeship, which is in the middle and lower reaches compared with the students enrolled in the same period, and there is a big gap between Trees and the Violet Star. She is also very aware of this. As a daughter of a small citizen, she never thought about being able to marry a young and noble aristocratic child like Trees as his wife, to maintain the relationship with Trees, and to be with them for the rest of their lives. "Will suffice," is my father replying. Trees gently printed a kiss on the bright head of Tracy, and asked after they separated. There was a letter that Miss Marnie had arranged for the maid to send. "I have not taken it apart." Tracy took a large envelope out of the locker. A light blue light was shot directly from Trees' hand, and the envelope was instantly disintegrated. Trees saw all the contents of the letter at a glance. "Great. My father said that he will set off after the arrangement of the things in the territory. It is expected to arrive in Nanhai Town in the middle of next month." Trees was happy with his hands. "This way I can finally reunite with my family. I haven't seen my father for 3 years. Trizer, will your father be very strict and very powerful?" Tracy has known Trees for 3 years. In her impression, Trees' father seems to have always been a standard image of a strict father. "You are so cute and cute, he will like you." Trees stroking the face of Tracy, his eyes filled with water and tenderness. "Gifts for you, I hope you like it." Trees' ear took out a beautiful pearl necklace, which is the specialty of the Naga Kingdom on the seafloor. The quality of the pearls of the Naga Kingdom is far superior to that of the Orient. In this way, this pearl necklace is a masterpiece of the jewel master of the King of Sagnar, and if it is sold in the commercial city of Venice or the King of Pali, it will certainly sell a big price. Tracy was really overjoyed. The woman had almost no resistance to the jewelry. She stood still, letting Trees wear the pearl necklace on her white neck. This string of pearl necklaces can improve your magical affinity and magic growth, which is very helpful for you in the apprenticeship stage. Trees posted in the ear of Tracy, whispering, the hot airflow makes the face of Tracy it has completely turned into a red apple. Well, time is tight, I have to hurry to carry out key experiments, and strive to complete a valuable paper, published in the Journal of Violet. I just browsed the hot post of the recent Violet forum and published it in the Journal of Violet. The paper is the easiest way to get the arcane points. For becoming a glory of the arcane master, I am bound to get it. Trees clenched his fist and was full of fighting spirit. Trizer, I believe that you are the best. Tracy picked up his toes and printed a blushing kiss on Trees' face. Since the beginning of the arcane point as a currency operation in the Western Ways spell list, since listening to the speech of President Ziwei, and full of imagination for the upcoming, it can be said that the teachers and students of the entire Violet Academy have a common ideal is to be a glorious arcane master. However, the career of the arcanist has always been invisible in the fog, until the Violet event a week ago revealed the only standard for the selection of the arcane master, that is, arcane points. 2 meow 2 by **2 core 2. Arcane and magic are battlefields where masters and even legends debate their ideas and ideas. For most of the students of the Violet Academy, the Journal of Violet is the only place where you can hope to get arcane points. So countless people are clenching their hands and experimenting with papers to achieve their dreams. When the students of the Violet Academy began to compile academic papers, the 2 test papers produced by Ziwei were also spread throughout the Orient continent with the unsuccessful magicians. The first test of the magic theory has received the attention of almost all magicians. The difficulty of these 5 big questions is gradually increasing, the steps are clear, and it is the key place that the magic world has ignored or even discovered for thousands of years. Many confident magicians started the answer to this test, but they eventually lost in pain. Most of them lost to the second question. Each level has countless people, and the last one when demonstrating the test questions of material energy conversion, there is no answer in the entire magic world that can really be recognized by everyone. So this test paper ushered in more challenges from the magician and won more attention for himself. This test paper is hailed as the 5 major questions of the arcanist Ziwei and became the magic of the next few decades. A key issue that the division can't escape is recorded in the history of magic and is used as a fun event full of time markers. In this process, Ziwei's reputation is getting bigger and bigger. Although he has not been promoted to the legendary level so far, in many people's minds, he is very likely to achieve the title of the next legendary magician. More outstanding young people are not far away from the sea to Violet Island, hoping to get the guidance of Ziwei. Not long after, the second issue of Arcane and the first issue of Magic were published simultaneously. Among them, Arcane was released publicly, still 1,000 hardcover and a large number of copy books, and the issue of the first issue of Magic was adopted. A very novel way. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 481. Ball, you are also summoned by the principal. The University of Copenhagen was in front of the office of President Hemmer, and the 2 young magicians met. Piat, I am afraid not only you and me. Bobo's unsettled face showed a glimmer of hope. This is a rare event, and it is estimated that there are important things. Ziwei's definition of standard units such as time, length, and quality finally became popular in the magical world of the Orient continent with the extensive promotion of Arcane. In the Ulud world, there has never been a standard measure of waiting in addition to the time of magic. Even so, Ziwei contributed minutes, seconds, and on the basis of magic time and engraving the precise time unit concept required by the magician to measure the milliseconds. President Hema is rigorous in his studies, and his management of the School of Magic is also very strict. He is accurate to every minute and every second, so there will be no problem of scheduling mistakes. Is it the new issue of Arcane? The calculation time is also fast. Many professors have written papers according to the specifications of Arcane some time ago. I don't know if there will be several articles on this Arcane. Our paper from the university, the young magician named Piet had a messy brown short hair and a blind eye. The mage robe on his body was also very simple. It looked like a night owl that didn't wake up, but he had the most talented spell model building power of all the magicians at the University of Copenhagen. He developed a number of practical new spells, many of which are more powerful than standard spells. Boer is an outstanding magician who specializes in summoning and changing two colleges. He is also the youngest master of magic at the University of Copenhagen. When Boer and Piet walked into the office of President Heimer, they discovered that there were 4 other magicians, 3 men and 1 woman. Their common point is that they belong to the young Junyan. It can be said that the hope of the entire Copenhagen University School of Magic is pinned on these 6 people, who are also the most promising candidates for the future. Although Heimer is only the vice president of the University of Copenhagen, the university is a comprehensive university, and the principal is personally led by the Danish autonomous leader. As the legendary magician, Heimer is the most powerful and prestigious magician here. He soon appeared in front of everyone, and there was a large piece of strange rectangular metal floating around him. "It's nice to meet everyone, my students." Heimer waved his hands. "The second issue of Arcane just sent from Violet and the inaugural issue of Magic has arrived." "How many papers did our university publish?" Boer was the only magician among the young wizards, and he asked. "2 articles, the papers of Master Weiska and I passed the review of the members of the Arcane Review Society. Professor Moroz's paper has a little bit of a minor need to be revised, but it should be published in the next issue of Arcane." Heimer is very happy. This is a good start. Only Cesari's own paper has been approved by Venice, and there is only 1 article in the Northwich Council. Soon, there was a superb silver-winged owl flying through the window with a few big steps of Arcane, and the second edition of the 6 editions of Arcane was given to each of them. "Young Master, this silver-winged owl is the magical favorite of President Heimer. Although it seems that there is no fighting power, the core inheritance of the Summon School has been strengthened to a very powerful level. The second phase of Arcane is still 21 essays. This time, the cover is replaced by the Star Tower, and in the Night Stars, the group of the first 15 Arcanists. Although not as dreamy as the first stars, it is even more shocking and inspiring. The authors of the 21 papers have their own notes on the college, 7 from the Tower of the Thousand Laws, and 4 from the Royal Academy of Magic in France. This time, the Master of the West Victoria was not as crazy as the last time, but also published 5. The papers still cover different fields and have an inspired and open style. In addition, there is a paper published by a magic master named Coventry, which is printed with a beautiful violet emblem. The Coventry Master is the magic master who just joined the Violet Academy through the test. He has answered 3.5 in the 5 magical theories of Zyway. The completion of the 3 is very high and the distance is the most standard. The answer is very close. Coventry's paper is a high-level evaluation by Zyway, which is enough to be published directly in the Journal of Arcane. Although in the second issue of Arcane, the 2 legendary magicians did not continue to publish the paper, which made everyone a bit disappointed, but the entire 6 papers published by the legendary caster also tempted every magician to read. More importantly, compared to the inaugural issue of Arcane, there are huge gaps between the 2 legendary magicians, the Arcane advocates Zyway and others. The overall level of the second 21 papers it has risen a lot. So the second phase of Arcane was equally exciting and did not disappoint all followers. Where is the inaugural issue of Magic? Piet did not open the Arcane in his hand. He was obsessed with spells and spell models, so he had higher expectations for Magic than Arcane. "It's the smart machine around me," President Heimer shrugged. "There is a smart machine in the Violet Academy named Zyway's Spell List, which stores more than 3,000 spells. As long as it pays enough at the point of operation, you can redeem the required spells now. This machine is called the spell list, and each period of magic will be stored in it and gradually accumulate. The president of Zaiwei has made 5 sets and delivered 5 college. I only have 7 unlocks in my hand. This is a very complicated hex magic key. Even with my computing power, I can't deduct it. If it is brute force, it will damage this machine. You 6 people will get the unlocking permission of magic from my hands, can learn and understand stored in this spell list. The collections from the top of the Orient mainland magicians are not open to the public. Magic spells, there are a total of 20 such spells. Of course, you only need to learn 20 of them. Everyone looked at the president of Hymo with a blank look. President Heimer's 2 little beards curled up, and he was obviously very happy, because I want the 7 ring spells of the Heaven Thunderbird call that I have provided. You should have fully mastered it. The 5 young Toshihiko, besides Bor, did not complete the challenge of the Master's Certificate, but they have already come to this threshold, as the base camp of the summoning school, the signature spell of the sect of the Thunderbirds of Heaven. They have all been carefully studied and studied. It's just that this spell is a legacy spell that only a handful of the best magicians can reach, even at the University of Copenhagen, because the Thunderbird has already disappeared from the Orient continent, and it's very difficult to summon this powerful magical creature. Of 21 spells on the inaugural issue of Magic, all condense the creator's thoughts, sparkle with wisdom, experience, and feel these spells, and have a great deal of your breakthrough master's certificate and subsequent growth. For this reason, Heimer did not provide the unlocking authority key of the first issue of Magic to the professors, but gave the 6 young Junyan in front of him. This outsourcing looks like a large piece of rectangular metal intelligent machine. It is the new creation of Zaiwei, Zero and Kristen during this time. It is specially created for the Magic Journal, and the spiritual interaction efficiency has made a breakthrough. And the expansion of the load limit is also completed again. After the upgrade, Zaiwei's spell list can support the mental interaction links of 5,000 teachers and students in the school, and can carry the 8-ring master level spells. Zaiwei will soon add all the 8-ring spells he has mastered. Among them, the arcane point required for each 8-ring spell exchange is up to 30,000 points. However, with the advancement of the students of the Violet Academy, the number of arcane points they can obtain through various channels is also increasing. For example, in the Journal of the Violet Journal, a large number of arcane points will be obtained. The summer practice of the Deep Sea Plane also has a lot of arcane points to account for. Many students can already exchange their favorite 3-ring and 4-ring spells, and the richest students can even spend thousands of arcane points to exchange 5-ring spells. The unique spell teaching mechanism of Zaiwei's spell list makes learning and mastering of magic easier and more concise, more efficient, and more standard. This is the most perfect construction machinery. The big function can free the magicians from the tedious learning and mastery of the spells and invest in more valuable theoretical learning and argumentation. The 5 spell lists sent to the 1000 French Tower, the Royal Academy of Magical Academy, the University of Copenhagen, the Union of Magic School of Venice, and the Witches' Parliament of Northland are a simplified version of the Western spell list, but the 21 the way the spells are learned is exactly the same. It was after the experience that the principal of Heimer made this controversial decision. Compared with the arcane in a short time to spread the entire continent of Orient, set off a wave of waves, the release of the first issue of Magic is very secret. Zaiwei has only produced a total of 50 unlocking keys. But Magic allows more talented wizards to get a completely different experience from the past, but a spell that encompasses all aspects of the function, from completely different schools, but they can learn in a short time and master the spells of your own school. Even if there is a school conflict, you can master the essence of some spell ideas. This is a very large benefit, which can greatly shorten the time they spend on learning to master the spell. It is precisely because of the secret publication of Magic that the radiance of Arcane shines even more in the 5 magical holy places. Since the Vice President Yang was still studying in Wangdupali, Wei had to provoke the management duties of the Violet Academy during this time. He was busy as a Giro in the Violet and Smoke Plains. The time when the two lovers are warm is not crowded. After the appointment of the full-time cooperation with Wei, Ulixia, the Lord of the Morning, did not leave the island directly, but leisurely stayed in Violet Fort. The light source of the morning sun, Ulixia, is naturally impossible to carry around, but it is swaying through the city, and I don't know how many powerful enemies will attract. This bright source has been buried in the morning chapel on the ground floor of the Notre Dame of Par, which is also the core secret center of the entire morning sect. Wei has already reached an agreement with Ulixia, and will depart after 10 days and return to Wangdu Pai Li, on the one hand for Ulixia, and on the other hand, from the White Ravens, Schiller returns to White. The time in Crow City is getting closer and closer, which means that the Dark Council will be held soon. I am afraid that this year's birthday will be the last grand festival that the people of the whole continent of Orient can enjoy. Time is really waiting for people, and the turbulent era will come soon. In the battlefield of the backyard of Violetberg, a heroic horsewoman is waving the épée in his hand, setting off a white storm and bringing a huge amount of smoke. The female knight is Natalia Bonaparte. She has already opened the challenge of the Master's card, but she has not found a clue. The challenge of the Master's card is naturally impossible to succeed. For thousands of years, no matter how many professional losers, there are more people than successful ones. Once you fail in the challenge of Master's certificate, the next challenge will not only require a lot of time to accumulate and grow, but the chances of success will also drop dramatically. This is a vicious circle, so many people have to slow down in the 6-ring stage and try their best to win. Natalia is only 18 years old this year, and she was promoted to the 6th ring Blood Knight last year. She is too young. Although she is surrounded by the blood of the Bonaparte family, she is awakened with the help of Wei. The blood of the Golden Lion, but the blood of the Golden Lion is so overbearing, the requirements for the challenge of the promotion master is far higher than the normal occupation. Now Natalia can easily defeat the original Pirate King Cook even without relying on any weapon of the gods, but the Pirate King Cook is a master warrior, but Natalia has not been able to break through the master's certificate. At this moment, Natalia finally realized that she was not well prepared. In order to catch up with the promotion speed of Wei, she could work side by side with him in order to be his vassal. I don't know swordsmanship, but I can feel it. Your heart is up, a gentle voice suddenly passed through the storm, echoing in Natalia's ear. She put down the giant sword in her hand and turned around to see a gentle woman who was as warm as the sun. To be continued.